The key went in halfway and stopped. I pulled it out, wiped the rain off with my thumb, and tried again. Same key I'd used for 19 years. Same blue door I'd painted twice. Most recently after Elaine said the old green made the house look like a dentist's office. Behind me, her prescription sat on the passenger seat of my truck, beside 2 bags of ginger candy. I had driven to 3 pharmacies to find those pills. I tried the key a 3rd time. "It won't work," Elaine called from inside. Her voice came through the door, softer than the rain tapping the porch roof. I leaned toward the narrow pane of glass. My wife stood 10 feet away with both arms folded over her robe. Her older sister, Diane, crossed the hallway behind her, carrying a stack of our towels. "What do you mean it won't work? We changed the locks." "We?" Paige appeared at the far end of the hall. Our 38-year-old daughter had one of the framed photographs from the wall tucked under her arm. Elaine didn't move closer. "I need some space, Ray." I stared at her through the glass, water running off my jacket onto the mat she'd bought, because it said, "There's no place like home." "You sent me out for your medicine." "I know." That was the part I couldn't fit anywhere, not then. That morning, Elaine had been sitting at the kitchen table with one foot tucked under her, squinting at the label on an empty prescription bottle as though the manufacturer had hidden a personal insult in the small print. "You're up early," I said. "It's 9:20. That's early for a retired man. You've been retired for 3 years, and I'm still adjusting." She didn't smile. Elaine had a good laugh, or she used to. It started low, almost private, then climbed until she had to put a hand on somebody's arm. Lately I had been grading my jokes by whether the corner of her mouth moved. I poured coffee into my blue mug. The mug said, "World's okayest dad." Colin gave it to me years ago, and Elaine hated it because the handle didn't match the rest of the kitchen. "My hands are bad today," she said. I looked over. Her fingers were swollen at the knuckles. The skin stretched shiny and pale. The sight put a hard little knot beneath my ribs. "I'll call Dr. Levin's office. I already called." "Good. I'm capable of using a phone. I didn't say you weren't." "You look surprised." I looked at your hands. She pushed the empty bottle across the table. It rattled against my coffee mug. "They're changing the anti-inflammatory. The nurse said she'd send it to Patterson's. I'll pick it up." "Ray." "What?" "I can pick up a prescription. You can barely hold the bottle." The sentence came out before I could improve it. Elaine looked down at her hands. I reached for the bottle, but she put her palm over it. I didn't say I was going now. "Okay," I said, "they're changing it." "Okay. You always do that." "Do what?" "Take over the second I tell you something." I offered to go to a pharmacy. You didn't offer. She was right about the grammar, if nothing else. I had said I'll pick it up, the way I said I'll tighten that hinge, or I'll call the furnace guy. A declaration disguised as kindness. I sat across from her. "Would you like me to pick it up?" "Now you're making fun of me. I'm trying to ask correctly." The back door opened before she could answer. Paige came in, carrying 2 cardboard cups and a white paper bag. She had a key, though she knocked when she remembered. That morning, she didn't. "I brought salvation," she said. "And by salvation, I mean cinnamon rolls with enough icing to kill a horse." "The horse would have to eat all of them," I said. "That's generally how food works, Dad." She kissed the top of Elaine's head and set a coffee beside her. Mine remained in my hand, unnoticed and homemade. Paige wore black slacks, white sneakers, and a camel-colored coat that made her look more expensive than the kitchen. She worked from home for a software company and used phrases like "circle back" without irony. I had once asked what exactly she did, and she said, "I manage client expectations." I said that sounded like apologizing professionally. She laughed harder than Elaine did. "How are the hands?" she asked. "Attached," Elaine said. "Barely," I added. Elaine's eyes cut toward me. Paige saw it. Paige saw changes in atmospheric pressure before birds did. "What happened?" "Nothing happened," I said. "Your father is picking up my prescription. That seems nice." "I didn't ask him to." "That seems less nice." I held up both hands. "She needs medicine. I own a truck. Patterson's has a parking lot. I'm failing to see the constitutional crisis." Paige pulled out the chair beside her mother. "Mom doesn't like feeling managed." "Your mother isn't being managed? Then why are we discussing her in the third person while she's sitting here?" Elaine tore a cinnamon roll in half with the side of a fork. Her hands had to be hurting, but she kept working at it. I said, "Does anybody want to hear what your mother's doctor said about taking these pills with food?" "I spoke to the doctor," Elaine said. "I know. You told me." Then why would you know what she said? Because I read the information on the patient portal. Silence arrived so quickly it felt summoned. Elaine set down the fork. You went into my portal? You asked me to set it up last month. To set it up. Not monitor it. I wasn't monitoring anything. The notification came to my email. Because you used your email, you said you couldn't remember your password. That did not make you my warden. Paige leaned back in her chair. Okay, maybe we don't use the word warden before coffee. I'm not anybody's warden, I said. I know, Elaine said. You're just the man with all the passwords. I looked at Paige, expecting her to recognize that as unfair. Instead, she studied the cardboard sleeve on her coffee cup. It would be convenient to say I had no idea what Elaine meant. I knew exactly what she meant. I paid the utilities because she hated automatic drafts. I scheduled car maintenance because warning lights made her anxious. After her flare started, I kept track of meals, pills, appointments, and how long she slept. None of it had begun as control. It had begun one small task at a time, most of them handed to me with gratitude. But somewhere along the way, I had stopped handing them back. The phone rang. Elaine looked at the screen and answered on speaker because bending her fingers around the phone hurt. Elaine? It's Jennifer from Dr. Levin's office. For the next 3 minutes, all three of us listened as Jennifer explained the dosage, the possible nausea, and the fact that Elaine needed blood work in 2 weeks. When the call ended, Elaine slid the phone away. I'll get the prescription, I said. Paige closed her eyes. What? I asked. Somebody has to get it. I can, Paige said. You said you have meetings all afternoon. I can go after. Patterson's closes at 6. Then I'll go before 6. I'm already dressed. You're wearing slippers, Elaine said. I looked down. She had me there. At 11:40, Patterson's called to say they were out of the medication. I found Elaine in the living room with a blanket over her knees and Diane beside her on the couch. Diane lived 20 minutes away, but arrived as though dispatched from a nearby command center. She was 63, 11 months older than Elaine, and had spent 62 of those years regarding the rest of us as insufficiently prepared. They can get it tomorrow, I said, but the pharmacy over on Bradford has it. Elaine kept her eyes on the television. Tomorrow is fine. Your hands are worse. My hands are mine. Diane looked from her to me. Maybe she doesn't want to be dragged all over town. I'm not dragging her anywhere. I'm going. That's what she means, Diane said. I'm glad somebody knows. Elaine picked up the remote. Ray, please. That word stopped me more effectively than anger. Please could mean go. It could mean stay. After 30 years, I still made the mistake of choosing whichever meaning gave me something to do. I'll be back in an hour, I said. The Bradford pharmacy had the medicine, but not the dosage. The pharmacist found the correct tablets at a store 8 miles farther east. By then the rain had started, a fine gray mist that made every stoplight look smeared. At the third pharmacy, a young man in green scrubs asked if I wanted to wait. How long? 45 minutes. Is that pharmacy time or regular time? He smiled. Probably an hour. I wandered the store with a red plastic basket. I bought tissues, crackers, antacid, and 2 bags of ginger candy because Elaine liked the yellow ones and complained there were never enough of them. I almost bought a heating pad, then remembered ours was in the linen closet. My phone showed 3 missed calls, all from numbers I knew. Paige, Diane, Paige again. I called Elaine. She answered on the 5th ring. Are you still out? They had to send me to Easton. Did Paige need something? No. She's here. I saw she called. She probably wanted to know where you were. Why didn't she call the phone in my hand? Elaine was quiet. Behind her I heard a scraping sound. Furniture moving, maybe? What's going on? Nothing. When will you be back? Half an hour, depending on whether the pharmacist is using a sundial. All right? Did you eat? Yes. What? Food, Ray. The line went dead. When I got home, Paige's car was in my place in the driveway. Diane's SUV sat behind it with the rear hatch open. That should have been enough warning, but the human mind is generous when the alternative is disaster. I figured Diane had brought over some storage bins. I figured Paige planned to stay the night. I figured the towels in Diane's arms were going upstairs, because Elaine had spilled something. I did not figure my key had been made useless while I stood under fluorescent lights buying nausea candy for my wife. Now I held it up to the glass. How long has this been planned? Elaine's face tightened. Not like this. Like what? Please don't make a scene. I looked behind me at the empty street. Rainwater ran along the curb. Mrs. Holloway's porch across the road was dark. Who would the scene be for? Dad, Paige said, coming closer. She opened the inner door, but left the storm door locked between us. Mom has asked for space more than once. She asked me not to read her patient portal. It's not just the portal. No, apparently it's also the locks. Diane appeared over Elaine's shoulder. Your things are in the garage. I looked at her. You packed my clothes? We helped Elaine. You went through my dresser. Nobody enjoyed it. That's comforting, Diane. Elaine closed her eyes for a second. She looked tired, not triumphant, not frightened either. That hurt in a different place. I said, open the door. I don't think that's a good idea. It's my house, too. I know. My coffee is on the counter. Paige's mouth moved before any sound came out. I packed the blue mug. I laughed once. I couldn't help it. Of everything she might have said, that was so completely Paige. Efficient, considerate, and horrifying. Good, I said. Wouldn't want it getting lonely. Ray, Elaine whispered. I went back to the truck and brought the pharmacy bag to the porch. The ginger candies made it bulge at the sides. I set it on the mat between my wet shoes and the locked door. 1 pill twice a day with food. If it makes you dizzy, call Levin. The antacid is in there, but check before you take both. I heard the nurse. I know you did. For the first time, Elaine stepped toward the door. Her wedding ring caught the hallway light. I waited for her hand to reach the lock. It didn't. I'll get my things from the garage, I said. Ray, we should talk when everyone's calmer. I looked at Paige, then Diane, then my wife. I was calm when I left. The garage side door had been left open. 4 plastic storage tubs sat beneath my workbench. 2 garbage bags held my clothes. My shaving kit was balanced on top, zipped neatly. On the concrete beside it sat the blue mug, wrapped in one of Elaine's kitchen towels. I loaded everything into the truck. As I backed out, I saw the front door open. Elaine bent slowly, picked up the medicine, and retreated inside before the rain could touch her. I drove 3 blocks before Paige called. I let it ring. Then Elaine called. I let that ring too. At the next red light, my phone lit up with a message from Paige. Please don't punish Mom for finally choosing herself. I read it twice. The truck behind me honked when the light turned green. I drove to Marcus Hale's house because it was the only place I could think of where nobody needed me to fix anything. Marcus opened his front door in plaid pajama pants and a t-shirt from a barbecue restaurant that had closed 7 years earlier. He looked at me, looked past me at the truck, then looked at the plastic tub in my arms. You moving in, or did you finally rob a container store? Can I use your spare room? He stepped aside. That depends. You still snore like a chainsaw falling downstairs? I never snored. Elaine said you did. The sound of her name made me shift my grip on the tub. Marcus's face changed. He took the other end without asking. Come on. His spare room had a bed, a treadmill, and enough folded laundry to suggest the treadmill had lost a territorial dispute. We moved the clothes onto a chair and carried in my things. He didn't comment on the garbage bags. He did unwrap the blue mug and hold it up. Okayest Dad, he read. That's generous. Colin was in a charitable mood. Marcus put the mug on the dresser. Where's Elaine? Home. And where are you? Apparently here. He waited. Marcus had worked beside me for 26 years at the city maintenance garage. He could rebuild a transmission, sleep through a fire alarm, and wait out a lie longer than any man I knew. His ex-wife Donna once told him he had the emotional range of a parking meter. Marcus had replied that parking meters at least made expectations clear. They had been divorced 12 years and ate breakfast together every other Sunday. I sat on the edge of the bed. She changed the locks. He leaned against the doorframe. Tonight, while I was at the pharmacy, for her, that detail seems important to everybody except the people who did it. Marcus rubbed the gray stubble on his jaw. You want a drink? No. You want me to say something mean about your wife? No. You want me to help you break into your house? It's raining. That wasn't my question. I don't want to break in. All right, I just need tonight. Sure. And maybe tomorrow. Sure. After that, I'll figure it out. Ray. What? You can stay until you figure it out. Just don't fix anything. I looked past him toward the hallway. Your bathroom faucet still dripping? Go to sleep. He left the door partly open, which somehow felt kinder than closing it. My phone had collected 11 messages. 4 were from Paige, 2 from Diane, 1 from a number I didn't recognize, asking whether I still wanted a quote on replacement windows. Elaine had sent 4. Please let me know where you are. I hope you're safe. We can discuss this when things aren't so charged. You left the crackers in the truck. I read that last one several times. Not because of the crackers, because she knew where they were. She had watched me bring the medicine to the door, watched me carry 4 tubs and 2 garbage bags out of the garage, and somewhere in that sequence had noticed I kept the crackers. I typed, "I'm at Marcus's." Before I could set down the phone, 3 dots appeared. "Thank you for telling me." That was all. I lay back without pulling down the quilt. The ceiling fan clicked once every rotation. I counted to 212 before I got up and found the screwdriver in my shaving kit. The loose screw wasn't in the fan. One blade was slightly warped. Nothing I could fix at midnight without waking Marcus. I stood on the bed in my socks, watching it turn. My phone rang at 7:14. I had not slept so much as misplaced several hours. The room had turned gray around me, and Marcus was banging something in the kitchen. Paige's name filled the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. Morning. Dad. There was an entire paragraph in the way she said it. What? Where are you? At Marcus's. Okay, Mom said you told her, but I wanted to make sure. You've made sure. Don't be like that. Like what? Cold. I sat up. My shirt from the night before was twisted around my ribs. You changed the locks on my house while I was buying medication, then told me not to be cold the next morning. I didn't change them. You were standing behind one. Mom asked me to help. You always do what your mother asks? Yesterday, yes. That answer surprised me enough to create a silence. Paige cleared her throat. She has an appointment at 11. She said the follow-up wasn't until next week. The doctor wants blood work before she stays on the new medication. Then she needs to go. I know. I waited. Paige said, I have a client presentation at 10:30. Good luck. Diane can't drive her because she has that thing with her back. Diane carried a tub of my tools yesterday. She strained it. On my tools? Dad. From the kitchen, Marcus yelled, Coffee's dying! I covered the bottom of the phone. I heard you, Paige said. Is that Marcus? No, it's a woman I met after you locked me out. Can you be serious for 1 minute? I've been serious since 5:40 yesterday afternoon. Mom needs a ride, then call a car. She's having trouble with her hands. She doesn't want to get in with a stranger. I'm not sure what category I'm in right now. You're still her husband. There it was, clean and unembarrassed. I stood and walked to the window. Marcus's backyard was mostly wet grass and one pear tree that had never produced a pear. My truck sat in the driveway with my life visible through the rear window. Did she ask you to call me? No. Does she know you're calling? A pause. Paige. She knows I'm figuring something out. Then figure something out. I ended the call before she could answer. My hands were shaking. Not much, but enough that I had trouble with the tiny plastic latch on my shaving kit. I gave up and went to the kitchen. Marcus slid a mug toward me. It said, Life is better at the lake, though Marcus did not own a lake, a boat, or swimwear. Trouble? He asked. Elaine needs a ride. Of course she does. I took a drink. The coffee was strong enough to remove paint. Paige has a presentation. Tragic. Diane hurt her back. Heroically? Apparently on my tools. Marcus nodded. Your tools have chosen a side? I laughed despite myself, then felt disloyal for doing it. He opened a loaf of bread and dropped 2 slices into the toaster. You going? No, good. I probably should. Bad. She needs blood work. Does the hospital only accept patients delivered by bewildered husbands? It's not a hospital. That your main objection? I rubbed my eyes. She's sick. She was sick when she changed the locks. Those things aren't related. They became related when she timed one during the other. I'm not going to use her health to punish her. Marcus spread butter over toast with slow, violent strokes. Nobody said punish. Let the people who helped throw you out help her get around. It's not throwing me out. It's a separation. He looked toward the guest room, where one of my garbage bags had tipped into the hall. Right, he said. At 9:20, I texted Elaine. I'll pick you up at 10:30, she answered at 9:21. You don't have to. I stared at that sentence until it acquired several meanings, none of them helpful. I know. Be ready. At 10:29, I pulled into my own driveway and parked behind Paige's car. The rain had stopped, but the sky still looked damp. I did not go to the door. Elaine came out 4 minutes later, wearing black pants, low shoes, and the red coat I bought her the previous Christmas. Her right hand could not close around the strap of her purse, so she had looped it over her wrist. She paused beside the truck, as though surprised to see my belongings in the back. I reached across and opened her door from inside. "Thank you," she said as she climbed in. "Seatbelt. I know how seatbelts work. I didn't say you didn't." She gave me a look, and for half a second we were ourselves again. Then she pulled the belt across her chest with both hands and winced. I nearly reached over. Nearly. Instead, I waited. When she got it latched, she rested her hands in her lap. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "Some." "How's Marcus?" "Still Marcus." "He's never liked me." "Marcus doesn't like anybody before noon. It's after 10:30. He's warming up." We drove 3 blocks in silence. Elaine watched the houses pass. "Paige shouldn't have called you." "She didn't?" She told me after. "You could have called a car. I was going to." "Were you?" Her head turned. "You don't have to interrogate me. I asked one question." "You ask questions when you already think you know the answer. I learned that from Dr. Levin's portal. It was petty. The moment I said it, I wanted it back." Elaine looked out her window again. "I changed the password." "Good." Another mile passed. At the clinic, I pulled up to the entrance. "You can go," she said. "I'll wait. It could take an hour. I know how medical appointments work. I don't need you sitting out here making a point. I'm not making a point." "Then go." "Do you want to ride home?" She pressed her lips together. "Yes." "Then I'll wait." A man in blue scrubs came through the sliding doors, pushing an empty wheelchair. Elaine opened her door. "Ray." "What?" "I didn't do this to hurt you." She stepped out before I could decide whether that sentence deserved an answer. I parked under a sycamore tree and watched people enter and leave. A woman carried a clear bag containing her shoes. A man my age struggled with a ticket from the parking machine until a stranger helped him. Nobody looked like their life had ended, even if one of theirs had. After 40 minutes, Colin called. He rarely called before dinner. Our conversations usually began with a specific object. "What's wrong with your lawnmower?" "Nothing," he said. "Truck?" "No." "Water heater?" "Dad." He sounded like Paige when he said it, which annoyed me more than it should have. "Your mother called you?" "Paige did." "Of course. She said Mom asked you to leave. That's one way to describe it. She said you're making it difficult. I'm sitting in a clinic parking lot waiting to drive your mother home." Colin was quiet. I could hear machinery somewhere behind him. Finally he said, "They actually changed the locks?" "Yes." "With your stuff inside?" "They packed it." Another silence, different from the first. "Where are you staying?" "Marcus's." "You okay?" The question was so plain I almost missed it. "I'm fine." "You don't sound fine. I'm in a parking lot. That's not what parking lots sound like." The clinic doors opened, and Elaine came out rubbing the inside of her elbow. "I have to go," I said. "Dad." "What?" "If you need anything, call me." I watched Elaine walk carefully toward the truck. "I won't," I said. "I know." He hung up. On the ride home, Elaine told me the doctor wanted her to continue the medication. She said the nausea should settle. She said all this toward the windshield, as if dictating notes to someone in the back seat. At the house, I carried her purse to the porch because her hands were worse after the blood draw. She unlocked the new deadbolt herself, then turned to take the purse. "I appreciate the ride." "You're welcome. This doesn't mean I'm changing my mind. I didn't ask you to. I don't want you thinking today erased yesterday. Trust me, Elaine, it didn't." She flinched. I saw it and hated that part of me was glad. The door closed between us. By the time I reached Marcus's, there was another message waiting on my phone. It was from Diane. "Where do you keep the furnace filters?" I knew exactly where the furnace filters were. Second shelf of the utility closet, behind the vacuum attachments Elaine refused to throw away even though we had replaced the vacuum 6 years ago. I typed that, then deleted it. "Ask Paige." Diane answered almost immediately. "She's working." I set the phone face down on Marcus's kitchen table. He was assembling a ham sandwich tall enough to require engineering approval. Problem? They can't find the furnace filters. Maybe they changed the locks on those too. I looked at him. "What? Too soon?" "The furnace makes a whistling sound when the filter's clogged. Then let it whistle. It runs harder, So does every man in a bad marriage, but nobody changes us every 3 months. I'm not discussing furnace maintenance with you. You brought it up. My phone buzzed again. Elaine's hands are hurting. It's getting cold tonight. Diane knew how to construct a sentence. One fact, one forecast, and just enough blame to hold them together. I stood. Marcus took a bite of his sandwich. Where are you going? To get my mail. Taking a furnace filter with you? They're already at the house. Convenient. I drove back at 4:30. Paige's car was gone, but Diane's SUV occupied my usual spot again. I parked on the street. The front door opened before I reached the porch. Diane stood there wearing a wide elastic brace around her waist. Don't say it, she warned. I was going to ask how your back was. No, you weren't. You've always been able to read me. Elaine's resting. I'm here for my mail. And the filter. My mistake. I thought this was a social call. Diane stepped aside. I crossed the threshold and felt foolishly relieved when the house smelled the same. Coffee, lemon cleaner, and the faint dusty heat of the furnace. My jacket still hung on the hook beside the door. The brown one, not the rain jacket I had taken with me. The photographs Paige had removed were gone from the hallway. Pale rectangles marked where the frames had protected the paint. A metal table from the den now stood beneath the mirror with a white ceramic bowl on top. Where are the pictures? I asked. Paige dusted, Diane said. Did she dust them into another room? She's helping Elaine make the space feel different. Successful so far. Elaine called from the living room. Ray? I found her curled sideways on the couch beneath the blue blanket. She had the television on mute. Her face looked pale, and there were bruises along the inside of her elbow from the blood draw. You didn't have to come, she said. I'm starting to think that sentence means the opposite in this house. I told Diane not to bother you. She made a compelling meteorological argument. Diane folded her arms. It's supposed to drop into the 40s. The house is 71. The vent is whistling. You could sing along. Elaine pressed her lips together. It might have been the beginning of a smile. Diane did not share the impulse. I went to the utility closet, moved the useless vacuum attachments, and found the filters exactly where I had left them. Diane followed me. I looked there. You looked around them. They shouldn't be behind all that. I suggested throwing those out. Well, you're free to throw things out now, aren't you? I turned with the filter in my hands. Diane's face showed no sign she regretted it. You want to try that again? She's had a terrible day, so you decided to improve it by taking a swing at me. I'm protecting my sister. From air filters? From falling back into the same pattern, because you keep showing up and making yourself indispensable. You called me. I asked where they were. You mentioned the cold and her hands. That was information? No, Diane, that was bait. Elaine said our names from the living room, tired and sharp. I carried the filter downstairs. The furnace stood in the corner beside the water heater. I had written the replacement date on the old filter in black marker, July 2nd. It was barely dirty. The whistling came from one of the loose metal panels, not the filter at all. 2 turns of a screwdriver stopped it. I replaced the filter anyway. When I came upstairs, Elaine's eyes were closed. Diane had taken the other end of the couch and was scrolling on her phone. Whistling's gone, I said. Thank you, Elaine murmured. My mail? Diane nodded toward the kitchen. A rubber-banded stack sat on the counter. Electric bill, hardware store flyer. A letter for Elaine that had been added by mistake. On top was a catalog addressed to Raymond and Elaine Mercer, our valued customers. I separated Elaine's letter and left it beside the fruit bowl. You can take the electric bill, Diane said. It's yours. I looked at her, meaning, you handle it, the bill or the electricity. You know what I mean. I did. That was the problem. Elaine appeared in the doorway. She had pulled the blanket around her shoulders like a shawl. The bills don't need to become an issue. I didn't make them one. No, I know. I'm just saying everything can stay the same for now. Except where I sleep. Her gaze dropped to the floor. Diane said, Nobody's asking you to sleep in the street. I'm sleeping beside a treadmill, which is worse. Elaine looked up. I don't want us fighting about money. We're not. Then why are you making that face? This is my face. You know the one I mean. I put the mail under my arm. I'll keep doing what I've always done until we have an actual conversation. That's all I'm asking. I stood there waiting for her to hear it. She didn't. On the way out, I took my brown jacket from the hook. Diane watched me put it on as if I had removed a fixture from the wall. The next request came the following afternoon. Elaine sent a picture of the dishwasher panel flashing 3 orange lights. "Do you know what this means?" "Yes," I wrote. "It means the dishwasher is unhappy. I'm serious. Hold cancel for 5 seconds. "Which button is cancel?" "The one labeled cancel." "There is no cancel button." I enlarged the photograph. Her thumb covered the label. "Move your thumb." 3 minutes passed. "That worked. Thank you." Then, before I could answer, "This isn't an invitation to come over. I just needed the code cleared." I read it aloud to Marcus. He was on the floor, replacing a wheel on a rolling desk chair. "You tell her you can repair appliances over the phone now?" I told her to move her thumb. "Did she?" "She did. Marriage saved. It's not funny." "No," Marcus said. "That's why I'm helping." On Friday, Paige asked if I could pick up groceries. Not for Elaine, technically. Paige had placed an online order, but scheduled it at the store across town by mistake, and she had back-to-back calls. I told her no. She called 3 minutes later. "It's already paid for," she said. "That doesn't make the store closer. They'll cancel it if nobody gets there. Then let them. There are things Mom needs. Reschedule it. The next slot is tomorrow afternoon. Sounds like a solution. Why are you doing this?" I was in Marcus's driveway tightening the loose bracket on his mailbox, despite his ban against repairs. Doing what? Making every little thing a battle. I've picked up medicine, driven your mother to the clinic, changed a filter that didn't need changing, and diagnosed a dishwasher with a photograph. It's been 3 days. Do you want a medal? I want you to pick up your own groceries. I told you I'm working. So are thousands of people inside grocery stores, she breathed into the phone. Mom said this would happen. What would happen? The second she set a boundary, you'd punish her. Your mother changed the locks. Because you don't hear the word no. I heard the deadbolt. You're proving her point. I stopped tightening the bracket. How? By keeping score. By acting like everything you ever did for us was some huge sacrifice. That's interesting, considering you're calling because you want me to do something for you. It's not for me. That makes it more effective, doesn't it? She went quiet. I hated how much I sounded like Diane. Paige said, "You trained all of us to call you." The sentence landed harder than the accusation. What does that mean? It means you never let anybody struggle with anything. You jump in, fix it, and then act hurt because nobody knows how to do it without you. That's not fair. No, it isn't. Neither is pretending we invented this family by ourselves. She hung up. I stood in the driveway with a wrench in my hand, and Marcus's mailbox tilted 6 degrees to the left. Marcus opened his front door. "I can see you." It was loose. It was minding its business. I tightened the final bolt and went inside. The groceries were still waiting 40 minutes later when the store sent a reminder to the shared email account I had never thought to remove from my phone. I picked them up. I told myself it was because there were frozen items. I told myself Elaine needed food with the medication. I told myself a person could be angry without letting milk spoil. Paige opened the front door when I arrived. She had a headset around her neck and a legal pad under one arm. "You came." Apparently. She took one bag, then winced at the weight. "You didn't have to get the extra things." The extra things were Elaine's tea, a loaf of the rye bread she liked, and a carton of soup that required no help opening. They were on the list. No, they weren't. I carried the remaining bags into the kitchen. The dining table was covered with Paige's laptop, charging cables, 2 monitors, and stacks of papers. My chair from the den had been placed at the head of the table. The small cushion Elaine bought for my back was on it. "You move the chair," I said. "I need the support." "Your house doesn't have chairs. It's temporary." I looked toward the den. The window was bare. My bookcase had been emptied, and 6 clear plastic tubs were stacked against the wall. A folding desk faced the window where my chair used to sit. One of my framed photographs, the 4 of us at Lake Erie, all squinting into the sun, lay face down on the floor. Paige followed my eyes. "We're organizing. Is that what this is?" "Dad, don't." I walked into the den and turned the photograph face up. Nobody looked happy in it except Colin, who had been laughing because a gull stole half my sandwich. Mom wanted things changed. She wanted me erased. "No one is erasing you. My books are in tubs. So are half of Mom's things." "Where?" "She's going through them." "Where are they?" Paige's mouth tightened. "This isn't helping. I didn't come to help. I came to deliver groceries." My phone buzzed. Elaine was upstairs, apparently unwilling to come down while I was there. Her message read, Diane moved things from the linen closet. I think the heating pad ended up in one of the garage tubs. Can you find it before you leave? I walked out through the kitchen without answering Paige. The heating pad was in the second tub beneath a pile of old towels. I carried it to the front porch and rang the bell. Elaine opened the inner door but left the storm door locked. She had done her hair that morning. I noticed because she always claimed I didn't. I found it, I said. Thank you. She unlocked the storm door but opened it only 8 inches. Her hand came through the gap. I held on to the heating pad. Ray, do you want a husband or an employee who sleeps somewhere else? Her face went still. I'm not doing this at the door. You seem to do quite a lot at the door. I asked for one thing. You've asked for one thing at a time since you threw me out. I didn't throw you out. What would throwing me out have looked like? Please don't make my recovery about you. I let go of the door before I realized I was touching it. Then I put the heating pad under my arm. You can buy another one, I said. I walked back to the truck with Elaine calling my name behind me. That night, I placed the heating pad on Marcus's kitchen table. He looked at it, then at me. I need an apartment, I said. Marcus looked down at the heating pad. Comes furnished? No? Good. That thing's ugly. I'm serious. So am I. Sit down. He opened his laptop at the kitchen table. Marcus typed with 2 index fingers and enough force to suggest each key had insulted him. How many bedrooms? 1, 2. I don't need 2. You own more plastic tubs than that room can contain. I'm not paying for a bedroom so boxes can sleep comfortably. He studied the screen. Pets? No. Smoking? No. Unresolved emotional baggage? Apparently 6 tubs. Most landlords charge extra. We found 11 listings within a 15-minute drive. 4 used the phrase cozy to describe spaces that appeared to have been photographed from inside a cupboard. 1 promised vintage charm and showed a bathroom with green carpet. Another included a picture of a smiling couple drinking wine on a balcony that did not exist anywhere in the exterior photographs. Marcus clicked on a cream-colored duplex across town. Ground floor, he said. 1 bedroom, little sunroom, washer hookup. The kitchen's small. Planning a banquet? I cook. You reheat soup and call it cooking. I've kept myself alive for 64 years. Elaine kept you alive for 30 of them. He said it casually, then stopped moving the cursor. Neither of us looked at the other. I leaned closer to the screen. Set up a showing. The landlord could meet me Sunday afternoon. Her name was Barbara, and she texted 3 times to make sure I understood there was no smoking, no subletting, and no parking commercial vehicles on the lawn. Marcus read over my shoulder. There goes your trucking business. I was counting on it. My phone rang while he was entering the address. Elaine. I watched her name flash until Marcus nudged the phone toward me. She's still your wife, he said. That didn't bother you 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago, she wasn't calling. I answered. Hello? Why did you take the heating pad? Her voice had the careful quality of someone trying to win a prize for reasonableness. It was mine when I left. It belongs to the house. I didn't know household appliances could have custody agreements. This isn't funny, Ray. I know. Paige went out and bought another one. Then the emergency's over. She shouldn't have had to. Neither should I. Elaine went quiet. I could picture her at the kitchen table, holding the phone on speaker because her hands hurt. For one guilty second, I wanted to ask whether the new pad got warm enough. She said, You embarrassed me. How? You stood outside and made accusations where the neighbors could hear. The nearest neighbor was operating a leaf blower. Diane heard. Diane packed my underwear. We're past embarrassment. Marcus coughed into his fist to hide a laugh. Elaine's voice sharpened. I asked you for space because every conversation turns into this. No, most conversations turn into me doing something for you. I never forced you. There it was again. The clean blade slipped between the ribs. No, I said, you didn't. I don't mean I'm not grateful. I have to go. Where? The question came too quickly. I looked at Marcus's laptop. I'm finding a place to live. You have a place to live. The Locks disagree. I asked for a temporary separation, Ray. Getting an apartment makes it feel permanent. What did packing my clothes in garbage bags make it feel like? I was trying to be clear. So am I. Can we please not make decisions while we're angry? I'm not angry. That's worse. She hung up. Marcus closed the laptop halfway. You all right? I hate when people ask me that. That why your son surprised you? I looked at him. You told me Colin called. I said he needed to know where I was. You said he asked if you were okay. You remember the wrong details. Marcus reopened the laptop. Sunday at 2. Barbara was 70 if she was a day, and wore purple glasses attached to a beaded chain. The duplex smelled like old wood, fresh paint, and whatever the previous tenant had burned in the oven. Garlic bread, she said, noticing my face. I had the range cleaned twice. Did the bread survive? No, but its spirit is strong. The living room was narrow, with 2 windows facing the street. The bedroom had a closet I could span with both arms. The sunroom was hardly a room at all, just an enclosed porch with worn wooden floors and enough space for a chair and a small table. I stood by its window. Across the street, a man in coveralls was washing his car. 2 women carried grocery bags up the neighboring walk. Nobody knew where I belonged. You recently divorced? Barbara asked. Not exactly. Widowed? No. Don't tell me. I stopped asking questions for a living in 2009. What did you do? Hairdresser. That seems like a job with questions. It's why I stopped. The rent was manageable. The lease was month to month after 6 months, which made the decision feel both temporary and binding. Barbara handed me an application and told me she would need a deposit if I wanted her to hold the place. I signed at the kitchen counter. For 30 years, every decision about where I lived had contained Elaine's voice. Her preference for morning sun, her dislike of busy streets, the time she rejected a perfectly good house because the upstairs hallway felt mean. Signing without her felt less like freedom than neglecting to tighten a bolt. Barbara tapped the paper. You forgot the date. I filled it in. When I returned to Marcus's, Paige's car was in the driveway. She sat at the kitchen table with a coffee Marcus had apparently made her. He was in the backyard pretending to inspect the pear tree. Did you invite her? I asked through the screen door. No, he said. Why are you outside? She manages client expectations. I went back in. Paige wore jeans and one of Elaine's old college sweatshirts. She looked younger in it, though not young enough to make the conversation easier. Mom said you're getting an apartment. I looked at one. You work fast. Somebody packed for me. Her jaw tightened. Can we talk without you saying that every 5 minutes? I've said it twice. You know what I mean? I hung my jacket over a chair. Why are you here? To talk. You opened with an accusation. I learned from the best. Your mother? I meant both of you. That landed more cleanly than she probably intended. She wrapped both hands around her coffee. Mom cried after you left. I didn't know she could. Dad? What do you want me to do with that information? I want you to care. I do care. You don't act like it. I drove her to the clinic after she locked me out. I brought groceries I wasn't asked to buy. I changed a furnace filter that was practically new. You keep listing tasks, because those are the things you call me for. Mom wanted you to sit with her. Then why didn't she open the door? Paige's eyes shifted away. She's scared, she said. Of me? Of being talked out of what she wants? What does she want? Space. That's not an answer. Space for what? To think. About what? Her life. Herself. Whether she's happy? Why did she need new locks to think? Because you fill every silence. I nearly laughed. Elaine had accused me for years of creating silences and then hiding inside them. Paige saw my expression, not with words, with activity. You make breakfast, clean the counters, ask about medication, start fixing something. Nobody can say anything hard because you're always halfway into another room. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. You helped her change the locks. Yes? Did you think it was right? I thought it was what she needed. That's not what I asked. Her thumb rubbed the seam of the coffee cup. Finally, she said, I thought if you were standing in the kitchen, she wouldn't go through with it. The admission did not soften me as much as she wanted. So, you got me out of the kitchen. I didn't know she was sending you for the medicine, but you stayed when you found out. Yes. Why? Because she asked me to. You said yesterday that I trained everyone to call me. Looks like your mother trained you too. Paige leaned back. I waited for her anger. Instead, her face crumpled for half a second before she pulled it back into place. That's not fair, she said quietly. No. She stood, carried her untouched coffee to the sink, and put it down too hard. I came to tell you not to make permanent decisions because you're hurt. I signed the application. She closed her eyes. Of course you did. Paige, your mother changed the locks. I'm allowed to find a bed that isn't beside Marcus's treadmill. You could come home if you'd agree to give her room. Did she say that? She said maybe. Would I get a key? Paige didn't answer. Marcus remained beside the pear tree for another 10 minutes after she left. When he finally came inside, he looked at the coffee in the sink. That go well? She thinks I fill silences. You do. You fill them too. Sure, but I fill them with charm. Barbara approved the application Monday morning. I gave her the deposit and took the keys Tuesday afternoon. The first key turned smoothly. I stood inside the empty duplex and listened to the refrigerator cycle on. The sound echoed through rooms that had never heard my name. Colin arrived at 6 with a borrowed hand truck and 2 pizzas. I thought you didn't need help, he said. I didn't ask. Exactly. He was 35, broad through the shoulders, with Elaine's dark eyes and my habit of checking a room for what needed repair. He picked up the tub marked books and grunted. What's in here? Books. Why do you own this many? I read them. I've never seen you read. You've never seen me floss either. I believe in books more. We moved my things from Marcus's spare room in 3 trips. On the last one, Marcus stood in the driveway with his arms folded. You know this means I have to fix my own ceiling fan. The blade's warped. I told you not to fix anything. I didn't. You diagnosed it. That's emotional repair. At the duplex, Colin set the pizzas on the kitchen counter. We had no plates, so we ate over the boxes. Mom says you're trying to scare her, he said. With what? The apartment. Making it real. She made it real. He chewed, watching me. What? You always answer like there's a correct answer. There usually is. No, there usually isn't. I put down my slice. Colin glanced toward the sunroom. What are you putting in there? A chair. You have a chair? Your sister took mine. He looked at me quickly. Took it where? Moved it into the dining room for her work setup. Did she ask? I gave him a look. He nodded. Stupid question. After we ate, he opened the tub of books and began lining them along the living room wall. You don't have to do that, I said. I know. He kept going. Near the bottom, he found the Lake Erie photograph Paige had packed with my things sometime after our argument. Colin wiped the glass with his shirt. I remember this, he said. That bird stole your sandwich. Half my sandwich. You chased it. It was a good sandwich. He laughed. Mom said you were mad because nobody warned you. Your mother remembers emotions better than facts. Colin set the photograph upright against the wall. Then he sat on the floor among my books, reached for another slice of cold pizza, and stayed until almost midnight. When Colin finally stood, his right leg had gone numb. He made it 2 steps before grabbing the kitchen counter. Strong entrance, I said. Shut up. You want help? No. Good. I don't have furniture for you to fall on. He limped in a circle until the feeling returned, then gathered the empty pizza boxes. Leave those. I'm going past the dumpster. You don't know where it is? I'll follow the smell. At the door, he glanced back at the books along the wall and the photograph propped among them. You have towels? Yes. Sheets? Colin? Toilet paper? I lived before your mother. You were 34. I had a bathroom. That isn't what I asked. I pointed to the door. Go home? He smiled, but he hesitated with his hand on the knob. Call if you need anything, he said. I won't. I know. After he left, I walked from room to room, turning off lights I had turned on, only because the rooms were mine. The bedroom had my mattress on the floor, and 1 lamp with no shade. My clothes remained in garbage bags because the closet rod had pulled loose on one side. I could have fixed it in 15 minutes. I didn't own a drill anymore. My drill sat on the garage workbench at the house. That thought nearly sent me to my truck. Instead, I lay down fully dressed. The refrigerator clicked on. A pipe knocked somewhere in the wall. Tires passed over wet pavement outside, each one sounding briefly like a car slowing at the curb. I woke at 3:10 and checked my phone. Nothing from Elaine. In the morning, I drank coffee from the blue mug while standing at the kitchen counter. The place lacked curtains, so a woman walking a terrier looked directly through the window and saw a man in his undershirt eating peanut butter from a spoon. She looked away first. Marcus arrived at 9, carrying a folding lawn chair and a toolbox. I don't need the chair. You planning to sit on Colin? He went home. Then you need the chair. He unfolded it in the sunroom. The aluminum leg scraped the floor. This is outdoor furniture. You're surrounded by windows. That does not make it outdoors. Close enough. I opened his toolbox. Marcus slapped the lid shut. No. The closet rod's down. Your closet rod? Your house? Your emotional repair? You drove here to supervise. You brought tools for myself. You planning to build something? Boundaries. We stared at each other until he opened the toolbox. The duplex came together through a combination of thrift stores, favors, and objects I had forgotten belonged to me. Marcus found a kitchen table in his basement, under boxes left by Donna. Colin brought 2 lamps from his garage. I bought a brown couch that had one cushion firmer than the others, and a green armchair ugly enough to make me laugh. The chair fit in the sunroom as if it had been waiting there. When I sat by the window, I could see the sycamores at the end of the street and the roof of a church 3 blocks away. The room caught the last light of the day, not the first. Elaine would have disliked that. The thought arrived automatically. So did the realization that her preference no longer mattered. Neither felt like relief. My mail continued arriving at the house. Some of it appeared in the duplex mailbox after Paige or Colin dropped it off. Other pieces gathered in a stack because Diane considered forwarding envelopes in accommodation for bad behavior. Elaine called on Thursday about the electric bill. Did you pay it? She asked. I always pay it on the 10th. It's the 9th. Then the answer is no. The amount is higher than usual. It got cold. Could the furnace be running wrong? No. How do you know? Because I checked it. When? When I changed the clean filter. She was silent. I sat at my new kitchen table with the bill open in front of me. Her voice came through the phone, sounding closer than she had when I stood outside our door. I don't want this to become hostile, she said. Neither do I. Diane thinks we should separate everything right away. Diane thinks soup should be served at a rolling boil. She's trying to protect me. She should wear oven mitts. Can you stop? Yes. I waited. Elaine said, What happens with the bills? We decide who handles what. You handle them now. I know, so why change it? Because I don't live there. You're still responsible for the house. As what? My husband. The word hung between us. I turned the bill over. The back was blank except for a return address. You don't want me in the house, I said. You don't want me asking about your health. You don't want me making decisions. But you want everything I did to continue invisibly. I didn't say invisibly. You didn't say anything until the lights needed paying. That's unfair. I called about the bill because it came to the house. You could pay it. I don't know the login. I'll give it to you. She exhaled. There. That tone. What tone? Like you're training a replacement. I stood and looked out the window. The terrier woman was across the street again, this time carrying a red umbrella. You asked me to leave, I said. I asked for room to think, and I need room to live while you're doing it. You rented an apartment in 4 days. I was sleeping beside exercise equipment. You could have stayed at the house if you'd agreed to some boundaries, with or without a key. She did not answer. Elaine, I don't know. That's why I rented the apartment. Her voice dropped. You always make everything so final. I almost reminded her that deadbolts were fairly final. I could hear Paige accusing me of keeping score. Instead, I said, I'll come Saturday for the rest of my clothes and tools. All your tools, they're mine. Some of them are for the house. Tools don't have loyalties. That sounds like Marcus. It was me. When? What? When did you get funny with me? The question hurt more than it should have. I'll be there at 10, I said. She ended the call without saying goodbye. On Saturday, Elaine opened the door before I reached it. She wore jeans and a pale blue sweater. Her hands were still swollen, but she held a mug without both palms wrapped around it. The color had returned to her face. You look better, I said. I feel better. Medicine working? So far. Any nausea? A little. I nodded toward the kitchen. Ginger candies help? Her mouth tightened. Yes. Diane was not there. Paige's car was gone. For the first time since the locks changed, Elaine and I stood alone in the house. She stepped back. Come in. The hallway photographs remained missing. In the living room, the blanket had been folded over the couch arm. Somebody had moved my floor lamp to the den, leaving the corner beside the recliner dark. Where do you want to start? She asked. The garage. Of course. What does that mean? Nothing. Elaine? It means you'd rather sort screws than talk. I came for my tools. You could still talk. I took off my jacket and laid it over the banister. All right, talk. She looked briefly trapped. I waited. The clock over the mantel ticked. A delivery truck groaned past the house. Elaine set her mug down, then adjusted it so the handle faced left. You make it impossible when you stand there like that. Like what? Patient. You asked me to listen. I asked you to talk. No, you said I'd rather sort screws than talk. You see, this? Everything becomes an exact quotation, like you're proving a case. I'm trying to understand what you want. I wanted you to understand before I had to blow up our life to get your attention. You could have said you wanted a separation. I did. When? Last January. I searched my memory. January contained a leaking pipe in the upstairs bathroom, Elaine's first specialist appointment, and a Sunday when the temperature stayed below 0. You said you wanted to get away, I said. I said I couldn't keep living like this. We were talking about the bathroom. No, you were talking about the bathroom. I was talking about us. You said the house was making you crazy, and you bought a new exhaust fan. I remembered standing in the hardware aisle comparing noise ratings while Elaine sat in the truck. I had thought she was tired. I didn't know, I said. You never know. That isn't fair. On our anniversary, I asked if you still liked being married to me. You were upset. Yes, Ray. That was why I asked. I said of course I did. You said, don't be ridiculous, and went outside to adjust the sprinklers. They were hitting the siding. Elaine gave a short laugh without humor. Thank God you saved it. I looked toward the window. She had me. Not entirely, but enough. I should have stayed, I said. Yes, I should have answered better. Yes. That does not explain what you did. Her face hardened again. I knew if you were here, you'd say all the right calm things, and by the end I'd feel foolish for wanting anything to change. So you made sure I couldn't speak. I made sure I didn't lose my nerve by sending me for your medicine. I didn't plan that part, but you used it. She folded her arms carefully. Paige and Diane were available. I wasn't going to postpone everything because the pharmacy called. You packed my blue mug, Elaine. That was Paige. You watched. Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. Yes. The word was quiet and merciless. I picked up my jacket. I'll get the tools another day. Ray, don't walk away again. I'm not walking away from a conversation. I'm stopping one before we turn it into something neither of us can repair. That's what you always say. No. Usually I fix the exhaust fan. I drove back to the duplex without my tools. That evening, I sat in the green chair while the light faded from the sunroom. The heating pad lay folded on the small table beside me. I had brought it there as if it belonged in a place of honor. My phone buzzed with a group message from Diane. Elaine's blood work looks much better. Dinner here next Sunday to celebrate. Family only. Ray, I hope you can put everything aside for one evening. Before I could answer, a second message appeared. Paige, I think that would mean a lot to Mom. Then Colin replied, has anyone asked what it would mean to Dad? For almost a minute, nobody answered Colin. Then Diane wrote, this is not about sides. Colin replied, then don't ask him to put his side away. Paige added 3 dots, removed them, added them again, and finally sent, can we not do this in a group text? I typed, Colin, leave it alone. He called me instead. You always do that, he said without saying hello. Do what? Tell me to stay out of it. It's between your mother and me. Then why am I in a group chat about it? Ask your aunt. I did. She used punctuation. Diane considers commas a show of force. He laughed once, but the anger stayed in his voice. Are you going? I don't know. You don't want to? No? Then don't. You don't have to defend me. I asked a question, in front of everyone. Would you have answered if I asked privately? I looked at the green chair, the heating pad, the bare walls around me. No, I said. Exactly. He hung up before I could tell him that was rude. I typed 3 separate responses to the group and erased all of them. Elaine never wrote anything. The next morning, Paige dropped off another stack of mail. She knocked hard enough to suggest she had not come for coffee. You're turning Colin against Mom, she said when I opened the door. Good morning. He's been calling her, interrogating her about what happened. Colin called me once. He's suddenly concerned about your side. I didn't know concern had a waiting period. He barely talked to you before this. That was your mother's fault? I didn't say that. You implied I'm using him. You don't have to use him. You sit there looking wounded, and he fills in the blanks. I stepped aside. You want to come in, or did you drive across town to accuse me from the sidewalk? She entered with the mail against her chest. The duplex had acquired 2 curtains, 3 kitchen chairs, and a cardboard box I was using as an end table. Paige looked around without comment until she reached the sunroom. You bought that chair on purpose? It was reasonably priced. It looks like an avocado gave up. It's comfortable. Her eyes landed on the heating pad. You kept it. I told your mother to buy another. I bought another. I remember. Paige placed my mail on the small table. You could have just handed it to her. I could have done a lot of things. That's exactly what I'm talking about. No, you're talking about one heating pad, because it's easier than talking about a locked door. She sat in the green chair. It swallowed her more gently than I expected. I should have told you, she said. What? Before you got home, I should have called? Yes. I thought you'd come straight back. I was trying. I mean, before they changed the locks. I could have told you Mom wanted you gone for a while. Why didn't you? Because she asked me not to. You keep saying that like it ends the question. She's my mother, and I'm your father, I know. Do you? Her face tightened. You're not the one who called me crying at 2 a.m. No, I'm the one who didn't call anybody. Exactly. The word hit with more force than she gave it. Paige leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Mom told me she felt trapped in her own life. She said every room had something in it you chose. Every plan went through you. Every time she tried to tell you she was unhappy, you solved some unrelated problem and acted like that was love. It was love, maybe, but it wasn't listening. I know that now. Do you? Your mother gave me examples. Paige's eyebrows rose. You talked? Saturday. How did it go? I left without my tools. A reluctant smile touched her mouth. I sat in the folding chair across from her. Did she tell you she planned to change the locks? Not at first. When did you find out? That morning. Before I left? Yes. And you came over with coffee. I didn't know what to say, so you said nothing. She looked at me for a long moment. I learned from the best. I deserved it. That did not make it pleasant. I picked up the mail and sorted through it. You're right about Colin and me. Paige blinked. What? We didn't talk enough before this. That wasn't your mother's doing, not entirely. Don't say that to him. Why? Because he'll hear it as you apologizing, then he'll forgive you in 5 seconds and make Mom the villain. You think very little of your brother. I think he spent his whole life waiting for you to pick him. The electric bill slipped from my hand. Paige stood. Dinner's at 6 on Sunday. I haven't said I'm coming. Mom wants you there. She hasn't told me. She shouldn't have to. You came all this way to tell me people shouldn't have to tell me what they want? She grabbed her coat from the back of a chair. There'll be 8 of us. Diane's sons and their partners are coming. There was the missing piece. Do they know? Know what? That your mother and I are separated. It's none of their business. Will they ask why I'm not wearing my wedding ring? Paige's eyes dropped to my left hand. I had removed it the night before, not as a statement. My finger had itched beneath the band, and I had set it on the kitchen windowsill while washing dishes. It remained there because putting it back on felt like pretending the metal knew more than I did. Wear it for dinner, she said. No. For 2 hours? No. Why do you need everyone to know? I don't. But I'm not going to lie if they ask. No one is going to ask. Then why does the ring matter? Her shoulders fell. Because Mom's finally feeling better, and she deserves one evening that isn't about this. Then she should have one. Come to dinner. Those are different requests. Paige left my door open behind her. I watched her reach her car, turn around as if she might come back, then get in and drive away. Elaine called that evening. I was reading the instructions for a new drill I had bought instead of returning for my old one. The drill had 9 torque settings I did not need, and a battery that promised to outlast my patience. Paige said she saw you, Elaine said. She brought mail. She said you're not coming Sunday. I haven't decided. Ray? What? I want you there. I closed the instruction booklet. Why? Because you're my husband. You keep using that word when you need me somewhere. That's cruel. It's true. It's a dinner. Nobody's asking you to fix anything. Paige asked me to wear my ring. Elaine inhaled. Did that come from you? No. Do Diane's sons know we're separated? Diane told them we are having a difficult patch. You changed the locks. I didn't want the whole family discussing my marriage. You involved Diane and Paige because I needed help. You involved exactly the people whose approval mattered to you, then asked everybody else to look away. That isn't fair. Stop saying fair when you mean uncomfortable. The sentence startled both of us. Elaine spoke more quietly. I've been sick for months. My blood work is finally improving. Can't that be the one thing Sunday is about? Yes, then come. If I come, everybody will spend the evening watching us pretend not to be separated. I'm not asking you to pretend. Should I bring the garbage bags? God, Ray, I'm sorry. No, you're not. She was right. I was sorry I had become the kind of man who said it. I was not sorry she heard it. I can't be there, I said. Her breathing changed. Can't or won't? Won't. Because you want to punish me? No. Because you ended our marriage while I was buying the medicine everyone is celebrating, and then you asked me to keep serving it from the driveway. I won't make a spectacle of that, but I won't help hide it either. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "You've been rehearsing that. I wish I had." She ended the call. On Sunday, I cooked pot roast. It was too much food for one man, but the package had been marked down, and the apartment needed to smell like something besides paint and garlic bread's ghost. I browned the meat, cut onions, and used half the carrots because I had nowhere to put leftovers. At 5:58, the family group began receiving photographs. Diane's table was set with linen napkins. Elaine stood at the end wearing the dark green blouse I liked. Her hair was curled, and she had color in her face. In one picture, Paige had an arm around her. Colin stood on the other side, expressionless. I did not respond. At 6:20, Diane sent, "We miss you, Ray." At 6:22, Paige added, "Mom keeps looking at the door. I put the phone in a kitchen drawer." At 7:15, somebody knocked. Colin stood there holding a foil-covered plate. "You left dinner?" "It was mostly over. It's 7:15. Diane serves courses like she's negotiating a treaty. I moved aside. "How bad was it?" "Potatoes were dry. I meant the dinner." "So did I." He set the plate on the counter and smelled the air. "You cooked?" "Pot roast." "You didn't tell me." "You had dinner. I had an obligation." He lifted the lid on my pot, cut himself a piece, and ate it standing at the stove. "Your mother okay?" I asked. "She said she was." "What does that mean?" "It means she said she was." I gave him a plate. "Don't start sounding like me." He took the plate to the table. "Diane told everyone you couldn't come because you were overwhelmed." I sat across from him. "Of course she did. I said you chose not to. You didn't need to." "I know." "What happened?" "Paige got mad. Diane said nobody needed details." Then one of her sons asked whether you were at home. I waited. Colin cut another piece of meat. "Mom said no," he continued. "She said you had an apartment. Good. Then Diane said you were being dramatic. I asked Mom whether you'd refuse to leave when she asked." My fork stopped. "What did she say?" "She said she never asked. That isn't exactly true. She said she told you she was unhappy, but she never asked you to move out. She said she changed the locks because she was afraid she'd change her mind if you were standing there." I looked toward the dark kitchen window. Colin said, "Paige didn't know that. She knew about the locks. She thought Mom was afraid you wouldn't respect the separation." "What's the difference?" "To Paige?" "A lot." He ate another bite. "What did Paige do?" I asked. "She left." "Where?" "I don't know." My phone buzzed inside the drawer. Then it buzzed again. Colin looked toward the sound but didn't say anything. I opened the drawer. Both messages were from Paige. The first said, "Did Mom ever actually ask you to leave before Tuesday?" The second said, "Please tell me the truth." I typed, "No." "She never asked me to leave." Then I added, "She did tell me she was unhappy. I did not listen well enough." Paige's answer came before I put the phone down. "Did she say she was afraid of you?" "No," Colin said. I looked up. "You reading over my shoulder? You hold the phone 6 inches from your face. I need new glasses. You need longer arms." I turned the screen away and wrote, "Ask her what she meant by afraid." Paige called. I answered, but she spoke before I could. "I'm asking you. Your mother wasn't afraid I would hurt her. I know that, do you? Of course I know that. Then what are you asking?" Colin stood and took his plate to the sink. He moved slowly, making it clear he was not listening, while listening to every word. Paige said, "Mom told me you wouldn't let her do this. I didn't know she was doing it. She said if she told you, you'd take over the conversation and make her feel irrational. That sounds like something I might have done." Colin turned around. I held up one finger. Paige's voice dropped. Then why are you acting like she invented everything? I'm not. Yes, you are. No, Paige. Your mother had reasons to be unhappy. She did not have reasons to lock me out without one direct conversation. Both things can be true, but she tried, she hinted. She said things I should have understood. I answered the wrong questions because they were easier, so she did tell you. Not that she wanted me gone. You would have argued, yes. You would have tried to change her mind, yes. You would have shown her all the reasons separation was inconvenient. Probably. Then she was right. Being afraid a conversation will be hard does not give you permission to skip it and punish the other person for what you imagine he would say. The line went quiet. I could hear a car engine. Are you driving? I asked. I'm outside. Outside where? A knock sounded at my door. Colin muttered, "This family needs hobbies." Paige stood on the porch with her phone against her ear. Her face was blotchy, and the sleeves of Elaine's college sweatshirt covered her hands. I opened the door. She ended the call. Can I come in? You're already on the welcome mat. That isn't an answer. Yes. She walked past me and stopped when she saw Colin. What are you doing here? Eating. At Dad's? He has food. You left dinner. So did you. You made a scene. I asked Mom a question, in front of everyone. You weren't answering privately? Don't use my line, I said. Neither of them looked at me. Paige crossed her arms. You enjoyed it. Colin stared at her. Enjoyed what? Making Aunt Diane look stupid. She manages that herself. Colin? What? You wanted us all to sit there pretending Dad was home with a headache. I wanted one normal dinner. Then don't change the locks on people. I didn't change them. You called the locksmith. Paige's mouth opened and closed. I looked at her. You called him? Mom didn't know who to call. The ordinary nature of that sentence hurt more than anything dramatic could have. My daughter had searched for a company, chosen an appointment time, maybe read reviews. She had stood somewhere in my house while a stranger made my key useless. Colin said, Jesus, Paige, stop. I pointed at him. You don't get to punish her for me. I'm not. You are, and you're enjoying it a little. His face hardened. Maybe I'm angry, then be angry about your part. My part? I wasn't there. Exactly. You haven't been there for years. The room went still. Colin looked as if I had struck him. I had spent days wishing someone would notice my injuries and had become careless with everybody else's. I shouldn't have said that, I told him. No, it's true. It isn't all true. He picked up his jacket from the kitchen chair. Paige said, Colin, don't. He left without looking at either of us. The door shut. Paige sat at the table and covered her face. You didn't have to say that, she whispered. I know. He stays away because every time he comes over, you and Mom talk through him. What does that mean? You ask him if she's upset. She asks him if you're mad. Neither of you asks how he is. I sat across from her. How long have you known that? Forever. And you? What about me? What did we do to you? She lowered her hands. You made me useful. The phrase sounded familiar. She looked around the little kitchen. Mom called because she needed somebody to understand. You called because you needed somebody to explain her. I knew everybody's mood before I knew my own. I didn't call you about her. You didn't have to. You'd say, your mother seems tired, or did Elaine mention anything to you? You made it sound casual. I remember dozens of those conversations. Paige drinking coffee at our table while I asked whether her mother had seemed off. I had considered it concern. I'm sorry, I said. She rubbed her eyes with the heels of her hands. Don't apologize like that. Like what? Like you're checking off a box. I don't know how else to do it. That's the problem. She stood and went to the sunroom. I followed. Paige ran one hand over the back of the green chair. I really hate this thing. You've mentioned that. I'm trying to create safe common ground. I leaned against the doorframe. She said, Mom told me if she had to face you, she'd lose her nerve. I thought that meant you had some kind of power over her. Maybe I do. No, not like I thought. How did you think? That you'd refuse, that you'd make her feel guilty, that you'd stay because you knew she couldn't physically make you go. She was right that I would have wanted to stay. But you wouldn't have forced her. No. Paige looked toward the street. I should have asked. Yes. I'm sorry I didn't call you. I waited. She glanced back. You're supposed to say it's okay. It isn't. I know. That doesn't mean it never will be. Her face tightened again. She nodded. It was not forgiveness. It was the first conversation we had managed without Elaine interpreting either of us. After Paige left, I called Colin. He did not answer. I sent, what I said was cruel. I'm sorry. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then came back. He wrote, it was also true. I answered, not all of it. Call when you want. He did not call that night. Elaine waited until the following afternoon. What did you say to Paige? She asked. I answered her questions. She came home and packed up her computer. From the dining room, she said she needs to work at her own house. That seems reasonable. She was helping me. She can help without moving into my chair. Our chair. I bought it for my back. I picked it out. I almost laughed. That may be the best description of our marriage so far. This isn't a joke. No, Diane thinks you're encouraging the children to turn against me. Colin is 35. Paige is 38. Stop calling them children when you want their obedience. I don't want obedience. Then let Paige work at home. I need people here. The admission came out small. I sat down at the kitchen table. Because of your hands? My hands are improving. Then why? She was quiet long enough that I heard a cupboard close on her end. Diane moved all my tea, she said. What? She put it in the cabinet over the refrigerator. She knows you can't reach that. She says the lower cabinets are cluttered. Tell her to move it back. I did. And she said she has a system. I pinched the bridge of my nose. There's a step stool beside the pantry. I know where the step stool is. I'm trying to help. I don't need instructions. Then why did you call me? Another cupboard closed, harder this time. I don't know, she said. The honest answer made me soften. Elaine continued. She's changed the kitchen. Paige changed the den. Everybody keeps asking how I feel, and then they tell me what I should do about it. I nearly said, now you know. The sentence waited at the back of my throat, hot and satisfying. I swallowed it. Tell Diane you want the house back the way it was. She'll take it personally. Yes. You say that like it's easy. No, I say it like it's necessary. You never said things like that when you lived here. You never asked. Yes, I did. We had reached the same circular road again. I changed direction. I need to get my tools. Diane's at an appointment tomorrow morning. That wasn't why I said it. No, but come then. I arrived at 10. Elaine had already opened the garage door. My drill sat exactly where I left it. Battery docked in the charger. For a moment, the sight of it made my chest ache. The workbench was the only surface in the house nobody else had rearranged. Elaine stood in the doorway wearing her red coat. You bought another drill, she said. How do you know? Paige saw the box. I needed one. You could have gotten yours. I tried. She looked at the concrete floor. Take whatever you want. I don't want to strip the house. They're your things. Some are for the house. Her mouth moved slightly. Tools don't have loyalties. I smiled despite myself. We divided them. I took the drill, socket set, clamps, and the old wooden toolbox Colin had made for me in a community college class. I left the pipe wrenches, the long ladder, and enough basic tools to handle ordinary repairs. Elaine watched me close the toolbox. The porch light went out, she said. The bulb's in the cabinet above the washer. I know. It takes 2 screws to remove the cover. I know. I nodded and lifted the box. She stepped aside, then said, Would you have left? I stopped. If I'd asked you directly, she continued. Before the locks, would you have gone? No. Her face tightened. I would have argued, I said. I would have asked why. I probably would have tried to fix everything in one conversation. But if you looked me in the face and told me you needed me to leave, I would have gone. You don't know that. Neither did you. I carried the toolbox to my truck. As I pulled away, Elaine stood beneath the dead porch light, watching me leave a house that had finally become as empty as she said she wanted. The new drill worked better than the old one. I resented it for that. I reattached the closet rod, mounted hooks beside the front door, and started a shelf in the living room, using 2 oak boards Marcus had saved in his garage. By noon, the apartment smelled like sawdust. There were pencil marks on the wall and screws scattered across the floor. For the first time, the place looked unfinished because I was working on it, not because I had just arrived. Colin called while I was leveling the second bracket. Still mad? I asked. You answer the phone that way now? Only for family. I'm outside. I opened the door. He stood on the porch holding a longer level than mine and a paper sack from a sandwich shop. How did you know I was building shelves? Marcus. Marcus needs to learn confidentiality. He said you'd put them up crooked to prove you didn't need help. They're level. They're 4 inches too low. He walked in before I could defend them. We worked without discussing the dinner, Paige, or what I had said. Colin held the boards while I drove the screws. He checked every bracket after me. When I told him the center brace was unnecessary, he installed it anyway. You always overbuild, I said. I learned from somebody, not me. He looked at the brace. No, Mom. I set the drill on the floor. Colin kept his eyes on the shelf. She used to tell me you were disappointed in me. When? Pick a year. I was never disappointed in you. You barely spoke to me after I quit the engineering program. You told me you didn't want advice. I was 23 and angry. I said a lot of things. You were an adult. That doesn't mean I knew what I was saying. I didn't want to pressure you. Mom said you couldn't look at me. I sat on the arm of the couch. I couldn't look at the tuition bill. That got a reluctant laugh. Then he said, "Why didn't you tell me that? I thought giving you room was respectful. You gave me so much room I thought you didn't care where I went." The drill battery blinked on the floor between us. I cared, I said. I know now. Do you? I'm trying. He sat beside me, leaving one cushion between us. When you came over, he continued, Mom would say, "Your father's quiet because he's worried about your choices." Then you'd go to the garage. I went to the garage because she was speaking for me. You never corrected her. I didn't want to fight in front of you. You two did everything in front of us except admit you were fighting. That sounded like Paige. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. What should I have done? Told me what you thought? I thought you were smart. I thought you hated the program. I thought you were embarrassed and didn't need me adding to it. Colin stared at the opposite wall. That's it? That's what I remember? Mom said you thought I'd thrown away my future. Your mother has always preferred complete sentences. He rubbed one hand over his jaw. You let her make them for you. Yes. The answer surprised him. I continued. Then I blamed everybody for believing her. He nodded once. I'm sorry about what I said Sunday. It was true that I stayed away. That doesn't mean I get to use it as a weapon. Why did you? Because you defended me, and I didn't know what to do with it. That's a terrible reason. I didn't say it was good. He smiled slightly. We finished the shelves. Colin put the Lake Erie photograph on the top one and arranged my books without asking. Before he left, he held out his hand. I looked at it. What? Your phone? Why? Because your contacts are a disaster. My contacts are alphabetical. Marcus is listed as Marcus Work, Marcus Home, and Marcus Cell. They're different numbers. One belongs to the city garage. A woman named Francine answers it. She's new. You retired 3 years ago. He combined the entries, added my new address, and created a group containing only himself, Paige, and me. What's this? So you can speak to us without going through Mom. I already know how to do that. He handed the phone back. Prove it. After he left, I sent Paige a picture of the shelves. She replied, too low. I wrote, your brother said the same thing. He's right. I considered moving them, then decided personal growth had limits. The apartment settled around me by inches. I bought curtains. I learned the oven ran 20 degrees hot. The terrier woman's name was Sylvia, and the dog's name was Walter, though Walter ignored both of us equally. Barbara brought me a rubber plant and said it was almost impossible to kill. That sounds like a challenge, I told her. Don't water it every day. How often? When it looks resentful. I put it in the sunroom beside the green chair. For 5 days, nobody from the house asked me to repair anything. Paige called once to ask whether I wanted coffee, then spent 40 minutes discussing her work and 17 seconds discussing Elaine. Colin sent a picture of his water heater making a puddle and followed it immediately with, I am not asking you to fix this, just confirming it looks bad. I wrote, it looks bad. He hired a plumber. Elaine did not call at all. Her silence should have made life easier. Instead, I checked the phone whenever the refrigerator clicked on. At night, I woke reaching toward a side of the bed that held only a second pillow I had not used. Saturday evening, I was washing a plate when somebody knocked. Elaine stood outside in her red coat. Her hair was damp from mist, and she held her purse against her body with both hands. The swelling in her fingers had gone down. She wore her wedding ring. How did you get my address? Colin gave it to me. I stepped aside. She entered slowly, taking in the coat hooks, the brown couch, the shelves. Her eyes stopped on the Lake Erie photograph. You have that. Paige packed it. I told her to. I had assumed the opposite. Thank you, I said. Elaine moved toward the sunroom. This is the chair? I told Paige not to photograph it. She described it. Cruelly, accurately, she sat. The green upholstery made her red coat look brighter. Her eyes landed on the heating pad beside the chair. You really put that here? It gets cold by the windows. I thought you were keeping it to make a point. I've reached the age where warmth is the point. She gave a small laugh, then covered it by looking toward the rubber plant. You bought a plant? Barbara gave it to me. Who's Barbara? My landlord? Oh. The single syllable contained an entire imagined woman. She's 70, I said. I didn't ask. You were about to. Elaine touched one of the plant's leaves. It needs water. It's supposed to look resentful. It looks dusty. That's different. We sat without speaking. I had spent weeks wanting a conversation with no door between us. Now that she was in my sunroom, I could hear the clock in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator, and her breathing. Diane went home, she said. For good, she says, until I decide whether I want help. What did you say? That I want my tea where I can reach it. That seems reasonable. She cried. Diane? She said I was treating her like hired help. The irony moved through the room, but did not need my assistance. Elaine looked down at her hands. Paige doesn't come every day anymore. She has a job. I know. How are you feeling? Better? The medication? It's working. Good. She nodded, then looked around again. You've made a home. I've made shelves. You know what I mean. Do I? She stood and walked into the living room. She touched the back of the couch, adjusted a curtain that did not need adjusting, and stopped beside the kitchen windowsill. My wedding ring lay there. I had forgotten to move it. Elaine stared at it. You took it off. Yes. When? Last week. Why? My finger itched. She turned toward me. And then I didn't put it back on, I said. Her eyes shone. Do you want to punish me? No. Then why does everything you do feel like punishment? Because you thought I would stay exactly where you left me. I didn't. You expected me to keep paying bills, running errands, fixing the house, and showing up to dinner with my ring on. I didn't ask for all of that. You asked one thing at a time. I'm asking something now. I waited. She took a breath. Come home. The words should have changed the air. They didn't. For what? I asked. Her face tightened. What do you mean? What would I be coming home to? Our marriage? The one you needed locks to escape? I made a mistake. It was the first time she had called it that. What mistake? Changing the locks the way I did. The way you did? Ray, please don't turn an apology into an interrogation. I'm trying to understand what you're apologizing for. I'm lonely. She said it with sudden anger, as if I had forced the truth out of her. The house is too quiet. I keep waking up when the furnace starts because you aren't there to complain about the ductwork. The porch light is still out. I hate sleeping in that bed by myself, and every time I go into the kitchen, Diane has put something somewhere ridiculous. I looked at her. She continued, I thought I wanted room. I didn't know it would feel like this. What would change if I came back? We'd talk. When? Every day if that's what you want. What do you want? I want you home. Why? I just told you. You told me the bed feels strange and the porch light is broken. That isn't fair. No, it's honest. She walked to the window. You want me to beg. I want you to know whether you miss me or the life I maintained. I miss both. At least she did not lie. I went into the kitchen and poured her a glass of water. When I handed it to her, she held it easily in one hand. I'm lonely too, I said. I don't know how to buy curtains. I cooked enough pot roast for 6 people. I still turn to tell you things, then come back. Loneliness is not trust. We can rebuild trust at home. You haven't said you trust me enough to let me have a key. Her mouth opened, then closed. That's what I thought. I came here, didn't I? You came because the house got quiet. I came because I thought you'd fight for me. I looked at the woman I had loved for 30 years, standing beside a cardboard end table in a home she had forced me to create. You didn't leave me a door, I said. Elaine set the water down, untouched. When she left, she did not slam mine. She closed it gently, stood on the porch for several seconds, and then walked alone to her car. I remained by the window until her taillights disappeared. My wedding ring was still on the sill. I picked it up, felt the familiar weight in my palm, and put it in the kitchen drawer. The next morning, Elaine sent a message at 6:43. I shouldn't have come. I wrote, "I'm glad you did." Her answer took 11 minutes. "You have a strange way of showing it." I started 3 replies. The first defended me. The second explained trust. The third reminded her that I had invited her inside, poured water, and spoken more honestly than I had in years. I deleted all 3. At 8:15, Diane called. "Elaine came to your apartment. Good morning. She asked you to come home. She told you. She didn't have to. She showed up at my house crying. That seems to be how information travels in this family. You rejected her. She asked me to return to the same arrangement with better feelings. She admitted she was wrong. She admitted the locks were a mistake. What more do you want?" I asked her the same question. Diane made a frustrated sound. "This is why nobody can talk to you. Because I ask what they mean. Because you turn every conversation into a test people can fail." That stopped me. Diane continued. "She drove over there alone. Do you understand what that cost her? I didn't know driving across town was an act of courage. Don't be ugly. I'm not trying to be. You're enjoying this? What? Having everybody chase you for once." I stood at the kitchen window. Sylvia and Walter passed outside. Walter stopped to inspect a patch of grass with more concentration than anyone in my family had given a sentence. "I'm not enjoying any of it. You expect Elaine to crawl. No. You want some perfect speech where she admits you were right and she was wrong. I was not right. I ignored her for years in ways I didn't recognize. Diane went quiet. I said, "But she locked me out, expected me to keep taking care of her, and asked me back when you and Paige stopped doing it. If I return because she's uncomfortable, nothing changes. She misses her husband. She talked about the porch light. You used to understand what she meant. No. I used to guess and fix whichever object was closest." Diane's voice softened despite herself. "She loves you. I love her. Then what are you doing? I don't know yet. That isn't like you?" "I know." I ended the call more gently than it began. Her accusation stayed with me. I had asked Elaine question after question in the sunroom, and every answer she gave had become evidence against her. I told myself I wanted honesty. Maybe some part of me wanted the power to reject her correctly. Marcus arrived before lunch and announced we were going to breakfast. It's 11:30. I eat slowly. Where? Sonny's. Donna Place. Donna is already there. I reach for my jacket. "You invited your ex-wife to discuss my marriage?" "No." "She invited herself to eat pancakes." "You're not that interesting." Sonny's had red vinyl booths, menus sticky at the corners, and a waitress who called every man under 80 young fella. Donna sat near the window, wearing a denim jacket and reading glasses decorated with tiny silver stars. "There he is," she said. "The man who ruined my guest room." "Your guest room? You think Marcus bought those sheets?" Marcus slid into the booth. "I contributed money." "You contributed a wallet." Donna and Marcus had been married for 21 years. They had been better at divorce than most people were at marriage, though I remembered the 2 years when they could not say each other's names without breaking something nearby. The waitress poured coffee. Donna looked at my bare hand. "So?" "Locks," Marcus tells everybody. "Only people under oath." "I mentioned it once," Marcus said. 4 times, Donna replied. "But one was in the produce aisle, so it barely counts." I opened the menu. "I'm getting eggs." "Wonderful," Donna said. "We'll discuss your emotional life after toast." I don't remember agreeing to that. "You sat down," Marcus pointed at me. "That's what Elaine said." Donna kicked him beneath the table. After the food arrived, she waited until I had taken 2 bites. "Marcus says Elaine asked you home. Marcus needs a hobby. He has you." I said no. Why? Nothing would have changed. "How do you know?" I asked her. And she said she was lonely. The house was quiet. The porch light was out. Donna put syrup on her pancakes. "Sounds like she misses you. She misses what I did. Those aren't separate things after 30 years. I looked at her. She continued. "When I left Marcus, I missed the way he filled the ice trays. Didn't mean I wanted to remarry the freezer." Marcus said, "That analogy needs work. It means ordinary care is still care. Don't dismiss it because it sounds small." She didn't say she understood what she did. "Then don't go back." I didn't. But don't pretend the bed feeling wrong has nothing to do with loving you. I cut into my eggs. Whose side are you on? Mine. I worked hard for it. Marcus raised his coffee cup. Donna said, "You know what Marcus did when I came back the first time? You came back?" For 4 days. He asked me 17 questions in the first hour. What had changed? What did I expect? How could he trust me? Everyone sounded reasonable. By question 12, I realized he didn't want answers. He wanted me to stand still while he hit me with the truth. Marcus looked at his plate. I made chicken. It was dry. You left again before the leftovers. Donna turned to me. Questions can be weapons, Ray, especially calm ones. I was supposed to just say yes, no. You were supposed to say no if the answer was no. Then maybe admit it hurt. I drank my coffee. Marcus said, "You finished?" "No." Donna stole one of his potatoes. He also needs curtains in the living room. I have curtains. You have fabric hanging from rods. Different thing. On the drive home, I thought about calling Elaine. I did not. An apology made too quickly could become another repair, something I performed so I would not have to sit beside the damage. Paige called me first. "Coffee?" she asked. "What's wrong?" "That's not how invitations work. I'm learning." 2 o'clock at Benton's? I'll be there. She was already seated when I arrived, laptop closed beside her. I ordered regular coffee. Paige ordered something with oat milk and enough instructions to qualify as a building permit. "Mom told me she came over," she said. "Diane told me too." "She called you?" "Yes." "Why? She has my number." Paige rolled her eyes. "You know what I mean. I do. Mom says you asked her why she missed you, and nothing she said was good enough. That's one interpretation. What's yours?" "Nothing she said was enough to make me trust that going home would be different." "Did you tell her that?" "Yes." "Did you tell her you missed her?" I looked into my coffee. Paige nodded. "That would be no." I said I was lonely. "That's not the same." She talked about the bed. "You're impossible." "I've heard." Paige picked at the cardboard sleeve around her cup. "I'm not asking you to go back." "Good." "I don't know if you should. That's between your mother and me. Then stop asking what I think." I didn't. "You have your listening face. What does that look like? Like you're examining a noise in the engine." I leaned back and rearranged my face. "That's worse," she said. For a while, we talked about her work, not the vague version she usually gave me, but the actual problem. A client kept changing what they wanted, then blaming her team for delays. She was good at explaining people when she did not love them. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "Set a deadline. Put everything in writing. Sounds right." She narrowed her eyes. "You were about to offer to read the email." "Yes, but you didn't." "No." "Was that painful?" "Extremely." She smiled. When the check came, I reached for it. Paige put her card on top. "I invited you. I'm your father. You're not allowed to turn every relationship into a service." That sounds familiar. "Pay next time. Is there a next time?" She met my eyes. "If you want one, I do." The answer came easier than I expected. Outside, Paige hugged me. We had hugged hundreds of times, mostly at arrivals and departures. But this one lasted long enough to become a decision. "Dad," she said against my jacket, "I'm sorry I helped lock you out." There was no, because after it, no explanation. I held her tighter. "I'm still angry," I said. "I know. I don't know how long I'll be angry. I know. But I love you." She nodded against my shoulder. It was not forgiveness. It was enough for coffee. 2 days later, Elaine sent me a photograph of the front porch. The light was on. I enlarged the image. The glass cover sat slightly crooked, and one screw was not fully tightened. The bulb was brighter than the old one, throwing a white circle across the mat. Her message said, "I did it myself." My first instinct was to tell her about the loose screw. I typed, "Looks good." She answered, "It's crooked." I wrote, "A little. I can fix it tomorrow." "I believe you." 3 dots appeared, stayed, disappeared. Then she wrote, "I'm sorry I made needing you feel like the same thing as being controlled by you." I read the sentence twice. My hands rested on the kitchen table. The apartment was quiet, but not empty. The rubber plant stood in the fading light. My shelves were still too low. Somewhere upstairs, a pipe knocked once and settled. I wrote, "I'm sorry I made being needed easier than listening." This time, when the 3 dots appeared, they remained. "Can we talk again?" I looked toward the drawer that held my ring. "Yes," I wrote, "but not about coming home." "Not yet." Her answer came a minute later. Okay, just talk. We agreed to meet at Benton's the following afternoon. Elaine arrived before me and chose a booth near the back, away from the windows. She had already ordered coffee. Her cup sat untouched beside a glass of water. You're early, I said. You're 3 minutes late. I circled twice. There's parking behind the building. I know. Then why did you circle? I wasn't ready to come in. That stopped both of us. I sat across from her. The waitress appeared and asked if I wanted coffee. Yes. Cream? No, Elaine said. He takes it black. The waitress smiled as if we had demonstrated something sweet. When she left, Elaine folded and unfolded the corner of her napkin. How are your hands? Better? Good. Don't. What? We said we would talk, not spend an hour discussing my inflammation. I asked one question. I know. I'm trying to stop us before we disappear into it. I put both hands on the table. All right. She looked at them, then at my bare ring finger. Where is it? In a drawer. Which drawer? Kitchen. Why the kitchen? That's where I was when I decided not to put it back on. She nodded slowly. Mine feels heavy now. You can take it off. I don't want to. I waited. Elaine glanced toward the counter. This is the part where you're supposed to say something, she said. You told me not to fill the silence. I didn't say never speak again. I'm new at this. A small smile appeared and vanished. The waitress brought my coffee and left 2 menus. Elaine did not touch hers. I told Diane to stop calling you, she said. She'll enjoy that. She didn't. She said you'd turn me against the only person who stood up for me. I didn't know I had that kind of reach. I told her I was capable of being angry with both of you. That sounds healthy. She hung up. That sounds like Diane. Elaine finally picked up her coffee. I also told Paige I don't want her carrying messages anymore. She told you about our coffee? She said you asked about her work. I did. Do you know what she does now? Mostly. What does she do? She manages software projects for clients who don't know what they want. Elaine's eyebrows rose. That's more than I know. She says circle back a lot. That part I knew. We sat with the uncomfortable fact that our daughter had managed to become more visible to both of us only after our marriage broke open. Elaine said, Colin called me last night. How is he? Why don't you ask him? I did, yesterday. She caught herself and nodded. Good. What did he want? He asked me not to talk about you unless I was willing to say it to you. That sounds like him? No, it doesn't. Maybe we don't know what he sounds like. She looked down at her coffee. The waitress returned. Elaine ordered tomato soup and half a turkey sandwich. I ordered meatloaf. Without thinking, I said, no onions on hers. Elaine turned toward me. I closed my eyes. Sorry, I like onions. You've hated them for 30 years. I hate raw onions. The sandwich comes with grilled onions. It never used to. They changed the menu. When? 2 years ago. I handed mine to the waitress. Onions are fine. After she left, Elaine said, That's what I mean. I was trying to save you from raw onions. You didn't ask whether anything had changed. It was a sandwich. It was always a sandwich, Ray. 100 little things that weren't important enough to argue about. And changing the locks was the reasonable next step? No. The answer was immediate. I leaned back. Elaine continued. I knew it wasn't reasonable while we were doing it. Then why? Because I wanted one decision you couldn't smooth over. You could have rented a room, gone to Diane's. That would have meant I left. I wanted you to be the one who had to go. Why? Her fingers tightened around the cup. Because I was angry. At what? At needing you. The words remained between us. She looked down at her hands. When this flare started, I couldn't open a jar. I couldn't button my own blouse some mornings. You started putting my pills beside breakfast before I asked. You cut my food when you thought I wasn't looking. You told Dr. Levin things about my sleep while I was sitting right there. You weren't sleeping, I know. She needed to know. I could have told her. You forgot half the questions you wanted to ask. Then I should have forgotten them. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. I wanted something to belong to me, even if it was a mistake. I drank my coffee. It had cooled. You made me feel old, she said. We're both old. You didn't feel old. You felt useful. I wanted to argue. Instead, I remembered the patient portal, the schedule I made, the notes I kept beside her medications. Every task had been reasonable. Together, they had built a small fence around her. I like knowing what to do, I admitted. I know. It was better than watching you hurt. For you. Yes. Elaine's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back. I said, "You could have told me to stop." I did, not clearly. Why did I have to be perfect at explaining pain before you respected it? You didn't. But you keep saying I should have asked better. And you keep acting like 30 years of bad listening made the locks inevitable. She looked away. Our food arrived. The waitress set Elaine's sandwich down and said, "Grilled onions, extra crispy." "Thank you," Elaine said. We ate for several minutes. The meatloaf was dry. I wanted to mention it, but silence had become something we were both handling carefully, like a dish cracked down the middle. Elaine dipped her sandwich into the soup. "I called the locksmith," she said. "Paige said she did. She found the number. I made the appointment." Whose idea was it? Mine. Diane? She said changing the locks was the only way to make a clean break. But I asked her what she thought. I wanted her to agree. And Paige? I told her you wouldn't respect a separation. Had I ever refused one? No. Had you ever asked for one? No. Elaine set down the sandwich. I said I was afraid I'd lose my nerve. Paige heard something else. You let her. Yes. Why? Because it made what I was doing sound braver. The honesty hurt, but it did not feel like a weapon this time. I pushed my plate away. Elaine said, "I didn't plan for the pharmacy." You said that. The locksmith was supposed to come at noon. He was late. Diane had packed some things, but you were still home. Then the pharmacy called and you stood up, and you let me go. Yes. You asked me to find the right dosage. Yes. You knew I would keep looking. Yes. Did you know it would rain too? Her face tightened. Don't. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I am. That was cruel. You do that when you're hurt. Do what? Say something quietly so the other person has to sound unreasonable when they react. I looked at her. She continued. Your calm isn't always kindness, Ray. Sometimes it's how you win. The waitress approached with the coffee pot, sensed the table, and retreated. I thought of arguments where Elaine had raised her voice while I lowered mine. I had called it restraint. Later, I would remember only that she shouted. You're right, I said. She stared at me. Don't look so surprised. I've waited years for you to say that. I've said you were right before. You've said, technically you're right. That's still right. Despite herself, she laughed. This time it climbed high enough that she covered her mouth. I laughed too. For a few seconds, we were a couple at lunch. Then the laughter faded, and the truth returned to the table without needing an invitation. I shouldn't have asked you to come home, she said. You meant it. I meant that I wanted the feeling to stop. Which feeling? The one where every room reminds me I chose this. I picked up my coffee. She said, that isn't the same as choosing you. No, I know that now. We split the check. The waitress placed both receipts in the middle, and Elaine moved one toward me without looking at the totals. Outside, the air was cold and bright. We stood beside her car. What happens now? She asked. We talk again? How many times? I don't know. About what? I don't know that either. You really don't have a plan. I bought a rubber plant. What does that mean? It's all I've got. She smiled faintly. Is it alive? So far? Elaine opened her car door, then paused. I have blood work Tuesday. I felt my body prepare an answer before she finished. I scheduled a car, she said. Paige offered, but I told her no. You don't like riding with strangers. I'll survive. I nodded. Text me when you get home afterward. Why? So I know you're home. Is that taking over? No. Are you sure? No. She studied me, then said, okay. That evening, I invited Paige and Colin to dinner at the duplex. I sent the message to the group Colin had created. Paige answered, is this about Mom? No. Colin wrote, are you cooking? Yes. Paige replied, then it might be about revenge. They both came. I made chicken, and unlike Marcus's, it was not dry. Paige brought a salad. Colin brought a bottle of wine and a real end table he said he found in his garage. You can retire the cardboard, he told me. It has character. It says dishwasher parts. History is character. We ate at the small kitchen table. Nobody discussed Elaine until Paige asked whether we had met. Yes, I said. How was it? Difficult. Are you going home? Colin asked. No. Paige glanced at him. He said difficult, not magical. I was asking. I know. I set down my fork. Your mother and I are going to keep talking. I'm not going to report each conversation, and I don't want either of you carrying information between us. Colin raised his glass. That sounds familiar. I'm slow. Paige looked at me. Is she okay? I think so. Ask her. She nodded. Then we talked about Colin's job, Paige's impossible client, and whether the green chair was salvageable. They stayed until 10. When they left, Paige took the empty salad bowl and Colin forgot the wine. My phone buzzed at 10:23. Elaine, home, I wrote. Good. The next two conversations were shorter. One happened by phone, another on a bench near the river where Elaine wore gloves and complained that Geese had become too confident. We spoke about retirement, her illness, and how often I had left rooms to avoid raising my voice. She admitted she sometimes followed me with an argument because my withdrawal felt like being erased. I admitted I sometimes stayed silent because I knew it made her angrier. Neither of us asked about coming home. Then Elaine invited me to the house. I want to show you something, she said. What? If I tell you, you'll decide what it means before you see it. That sounds like something I would do. Yes. The following afternoon, I stood again beneath the porch light. The glass cover was straight now. The new bulb illuminated the mat, even though the sun had not set. Elaine opened the door before I knocked. There was no storm door between us. She stepped back and let me inside. The photographs were on the hallway wall again. Not in the same order, but all of them were there. The Lake Erie picture was missing because it belonged on my shelf now. In its place hung a photograph of Elaine and me sitting on the tailgate of my old truck, both sunburned and laughing at something outside the frame. The house looks good, I said. That isn't what I wanted to show you. She led me to the blue front door. A brass key rested on the table beneath the mirror. I had the original locks put back, she said. I looked at the key. I'm not asking you to move home, she continued. I'm not asking you to take it. I just needed you to know the door isn't locked against you anymore. I ran my thumb over the edge of the table. Elaine's voice shook. That day, after you set down the medicine, you said you hoped I felt better. I looked at her. I heard you, she said. I stood on the other side while you carried your life into the rain. I watched your wet footprints disappear from the porch, and I waited until your truck was gone before I opened the door. Her eyes filled. That is the part I can't forgive in myself. I looked at the brass key again. Elaine wiped beneath one eye with the side of her finger. Say something. I don't know what to say. You always know. No. I usually find a task and leave. She gave a shaky breath that might have become a laugh in a kinder moment. I stepped toward the door. The mat was clean, but I could still see the dark shape my shoes had left that afternoon. 2 wet footprints pointing inward. I had stood there believing the door would open once everyone remembered who I was. Why did you wait? I asked. I told myself you were trying to make me feel guilty. I was carrying boxes. I know. Did you think I'd come back? Yes. When? The next morning, or after I called. I thought you'd show up and insist we talk. I drove you to the clinic. I know. You still didn't open the door. I was ashamed. You were angry. Both. Elaine leaned against the wall beneath the photographs. When you left the medicine there, I felt relieved. Then I hated you for making me feel relieved. I didn't make you. I know that now. The house was warm. Somewhere behind us, the furnace started without whistling. Elaine said, I wanted you powerless. The words were nearly a whisper. What? I was tired of being the one who needed help. I wanted you to stand outside and not be able to fix it. Just once. She pressed both hands over her mouth, then lowered them. I didn't understand what that would do to you, she continued. Or I did, and I refused to look at it. I felt something inside me loosen, not because the answer was good, but because it finally had no decoration. I wanted you dependent too, I said, her brow furrowed. Not sick, never sick. But I like being the person nobody could manage without. Every time Paige called, every time you asked where something was, I got to be necessary. That doesn't excuse what I did. I'm not excusing you. You sound like you are. I'm explaining me. She looked toward the brass key. After you changed the locks, I continued. I kept coming back because part of me thought eventually all of you would admit the family couldn't function without me. I called it love. Some of it was pride. You brought the groceries. I wanted you to notice what I bought. I did, I know. You took the heating pad. I'm still not sorry about that. She laughed through her tears. I did too, and then she stepped toward me. For 30 years, I had known the shape of her against my body, the angle of her shoulder beneath my chin, the place her forehead rested against my collarbone. When she put her arms around me, none of that knowledge had disappeared. I held her. It was not forgiveness. It was not a promise. It was two tired people standing in a hallway full of photographs, grieving something while it was still alive. Elaine pulled back first. "Take the key," she said. "Not today. I had the locks changed back. I know. You said you needed to know whether you'd have one. I needed to know you understood why. And now I know the door opens. That isn't the same as walking through it. No." She nodded, though the answer hurt her. I left the key on the table. Diane came to my apartment the following Thursday, carrying a casserole dish I recognized as Elaine's. "She says this is yours," Diane announced. "I don't own a casserole dish. She says you like the one with the glass lid. I do. Then it's yours. Come in." Diane entered as if inspecting the site of an accident. She looked at the couch, the books, and the sunroom. "That chair is terrible. Runs in the family." She set the dish on my kitchen table. "Elaine told me what she said to you. That's between us. I was part of it, yes." She sat without being invited. Her back brace was gone. "I thought she needed somebody to make her do it," she said. "Change the locks? Leave you." She didn't leave. "You know what I mean. I'm trying to stop pretending I do." Diane sighed. She'd been talking for months about feeling invisible. Then every time you walked into the room, she acted like nothing was wrong. I thought she needed force. And you enjoy force. So do you. Yours is just quieter. I sat across from her. She traced one finger along the edge of the casserole lid. "I didn't think you'd leave so easily. I wasn't invited to stay. I thought you'd make a fuss. So did Elaine. We thought that would prove something." "What?" "That you didn't respect what she wanted." I stared at her. "You set up a test I could only pass by failing, yes." The answer cost her. "Why?" I asked. Diane's face shifted. For the first time since the lockout, she looked older than me. "Because she needed me," she said. For once. Elaine had needed me for years. Paige needed to be useful. Diane had taken over the kitchen and called it help. The pattern was not mine alone, but I had helped teach it to everyone. Diane continued. "She always chose you. Even when she complained, even when you made her crazy, she went home to you. Then she got sick and called me. I liked being the one who understood. You packed my underwear because you felt left out? When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. It was ridiculous while you were doing it." She nodded. "I'm sorry, Ray." "For what part? Don't turn into a dentist?" "What?" "Stop pulling." I leaned back. She took a breath. "I'm sorry I helped my sister hurt you. I'm sorry I stood in your house and treated you like an intruder. And I'm sorry about the comment when you took your jacket. That one was particularly bad. I know. I believe she meant it. I did not suddenly like her." "Thank you," I said. "Are you going home?" "No." "Ever?" "I don't know." Diane stood. "You should. Apology accepted. Advice declined. That sounds more like you." After she left, I opened the casserole dish. It contained lasagna, enough for 6 people. Elaine and I kept talking. Sometimes we met for lunch. Sometimes she came to the duplex and sat in the green chair while I cooked. Once, I went to the house and discovered she had moved all the tea back to the lower cabinet and thrown away the old vacuum attachments. "You kept those for 15 years, I said. "I was being controlled by their sentimental value. They belonged to a vacuum you hated. I've changed. We learned to ask before helping. The practice made simple tasks feel absurdly formal. Would you like me to carry that?" I would say when her hands were tired, "Yes," she would answer, or sometimes, "No." The first few times she said no, I had to put my hands in my pockets. When my new curtain sagged because one rod bracket pulled loose, Elaine noticed and did not mention it until I asked why she kept looking above my head. "Do you want advice?" she said. "No?" "Then I have nothing to say." We both laughed. There were worse conversations, too. Elaine wanted to know whether I had thought about dating. I told her no, then asked whether she had. She accused me of answering a question with a question. I accused her of monitoring my tone. She left angry. The next day, neither of us sent Paige to interpret. We called each other. Colin started coming over on Wednesday evenings. Sometimes he brought dinner. Sometimes he arrived with an object he genuinely wanted help repairing, but asked after we had eaten. Paige and I met for coffee every other Saturday. She paid the first time. I paid the second. On the third, she had already ordered my coffee before I arrived. "You manage me," I said. "I remembered you." There was a difference. I was beginning to understand it. Elaine's health improved enough that she no longer needed rides. She arranged her own appointments and remembered her own medication. Once, after a blood test, she called from the clinic parking lot. "I'm dizzy," she said. "I can be there in 20 minutes. I already asked the driver to wait." "Good. I only wanted to hear your voice." I sat down in the middle of the hardware aisle where I had been comparing drawer pulls. You could have led with that. I'm new at this. We stayed on the phone until she felt steady. One Friday evening, she invited me to dinner at the house. She made pot roast, too much for one woman and one visiting husband. "You did that on purpose," I said when she uncovered it. "I had leftovers after you refused Sunday dinner. I heard about yours from Colin. Mine was better. You haven't tasted this." I have 30 years of evidence. We ate at the kitchen table. My old seat felt lower than I remembered. The hallway photographs caught light from the chandelier. The brass key remained on the table by the front door, exactly where she had left it. After dinner, we washed dishes together. Elaine washed, I dried. A drawer beneath the counter stuck when she tried to close it. I reached automatically, then stopped. "Do you want me to fix that?" "No, it'll take 2 minutes." I said no. "Why?" "Because I want to finish one evening without you disappearing into a drawer." I let go. We carried coffee into the living room. Elaine sat beside me on the couch, close enough that our shoulders touched. "I miss this," she said. "So do I. You could stay tonight." My body answered before my mind did. I looked toward the staircase, imagining the bedroom, the familiar mattress, my clothes no longer in the closet. Elaine touched my hand. No pressure. "I'm asking." I laced my fingers through hers. "I can't." "Because you don't trust me?" "Partly." "What's the other part?" "I don't trust myself." She waited. "If I stay, I know how it goes. I wake up, hear that drawer stick, and fix it. You wake up, see me fixing it, and wonder whether anything changed. By breakfast, we're back inside the same marriage because it fits. We could make a different one. Maybe. Do you want to?" I looked at her. Her face was open in a way I had once claimed I wanted. The house was warm. The dead porch light worked. The door was unlocked. Nothing stood between me and the life I had spent weeks mourning. "I love you," I said. That wasn't my question. I know. Tears gathered in her eyes. I squeezed her hand, then stood. At the front door, she picked up the brass key. "Take it," she said. I closed her fingers around it. "A key isn't trust," I told her, "and the house isn't the same thing as home." She looked down at her fist. "Are we ending?" she asked. I wanted to give her a careful answer, something that left every possibility protected. For once, I did not hide inside one. "I think we have to let the old marriage end," I said. Elaine nodded, but she did not open her hand. I kissed her forehead and walked to my truck alone. I made it 2 blocks before I pulled into the empty parking lot of a closed gas station. The sign above the pump still glowed, but the building was dark. I parked beneath a light that flickered every few seconds and rested my hands on the steering wheel. I had done what I believed was right. It felt terrible. For weeks I had imagined Elaine understanding what she did. I thought if she truly saw it, some pressure inside me would release and I would know where to go. Instead, she had changed the locks back, returned the photographs, apologized without protecting herself, and offered me the key. I still left. My phone rang. "Marcus?" "What?" I answered. "You sound friendly. How did you know to call?" "Colin said you were having dinner at the house." So it's 10:30 and you're not home." The duplex had become home to everyone except me. I'm sitting in a gas station parking lot. Need gas? It's closed. That's poor planning. I told Elaine the old marriage had to end. Marcus stayed quiet. "You there?" I asked. "Yeah, say something." "You want me to tell you it was right?" "I don't know." "You want me to say something mean about your wife?" "No." "You want me to help you break into the house?" I laughed, then the laugh broke in the middle. Marcus's voice softened. "Come over. I have an apartment. I know. I helped carry your garbage bags into it. Come over anyway." He made grilled cheese and heated canned tomato soup. We ate at his kitchen table after midnight. Neither of us discussed my marriage. Marcus complained about the city garage replacing equipment that had 10 good years left. I told him his soup needed salt. He told me my face needed salt. At 1:15, he unfolded the treadmill and hung my jacket over the handle. "You can use the spare room," he said. "I don't need it." "Sure, I slept there anyway." Elaine called the next morning. "Did you get home?" she asked. "I stayed at Marcus's." "Why?" "I didn't want to be alone." She took that in without offering to fix it. "I didn't sleep," she said. "Neither did I." "Do you still mean what you said?" "Yes, I was afraid of that. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for telling the truth." We were silent. Then she said, "I don't want to spend another year calling this temporary." "Neither do I. If we're ending it, I want us to say it." My eyes burned. I sat on the edge of Marcus's spare bed, beside the folded clothes that had once occupied the treadmill. "All right," I said, not on the phone. "No." "Benton's? Too many onions." That got a small laugh. We met at the house that afternoon, not because it belonged more to her or to me, but because 30 years deserved more than a booth near the restrooms. Elaine had made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table where she had first pushed the empty prescription bottle toward me. The brass key remained beneath the hallway mirror. "I'm not putting you out again," she said. "You can come back whenever you want." "I know, I mean today. If you decide you want this house, I'll find somewhere else. I don't want the house without you." Her mouth tightened. "That's a difficult thing to hear, kindly. It wasn't meant unkindly." "I know." I looked around the kitchen. Elaine had moved the fruit bowl. The market left on the counter was a pale oval in the dust. "What happens to us?" she asked. "I don't know. We've said that a lot. It's honest. I don't want to be one of those couples who stay separated forever, because neither one wants to make the final decision. Neither do I. Do you want a divorce?" The word landed more quietly than Locke's. I looked at her hands around the coffee mug. The swelling had almost disappeared. Her wedding ring sat loose on her finger now. "Yes," I said. Elaine closed her eyes. I reached across the table but stopped before touching her. "Do you want me to hold your hand?" She opened her eyes and nodded. I took it. "I want one too," she said. We sat there holding hands after deciding not to be married. It made no sense unless you had lived the 30 years before it. "I don't want it to be revenge," she said. "It isn't. I don't want you giving me everything because you feel guilty. I won't. I don't want Diane speaking for me. That one I support completely. And I don't want Paige or Colin choosing. They won't have to. You don't know that." "No, but we can stop asking them." Elaine rubbed her thumb over the side of my hand. "Are we going to become strangers?" "I hope not. That isn't a promise. I don't know how to promise it. Say you'll try." "I'll try." She nodded. Later, we handled the formal ending quietly. There were appointments, signatures, and questions about ordinary objects that became painful only because we had once assumed we would never divide them. We argued over a roasting pan, then discovered neither of us wanted it. Elaine kept the house. I kept the green chair, which nobody contested. She mailed me the blue jacket I had forgotten in the upstairs closet, even though she could have brought it to coffee. I understood. Some days a cardboard box was easier than a face. The first family dinner after we told Paige and Colin was held at my duplex. Paige arrived with 2 bottles of wine and no salad. "You always bring salad," I said. "Mom always told me to." Elaine, standing behind her, said, "I did not. You texted 3 reminders. That was one dinner. It was every dinner." Colin came in carrying a bakery box. I brought dessert before anyone could manage me. "Thank you," I said. "What is it?" Paige asked. "Cake. What kind?" "The kind you eat." "Dad, he's stealing your material. You can have it." Elaine stood inside my apartment with her coat still buttoned. It was the first time she had been there since asking me to return home. I pointed toward the sunroom. "Your chair's available. That thing isn't my chair. You sat in it twice. That establishes residency." She took off her coat and sat on the couch instead. I made chicken again. Elaine brought roasted potatoes and admitted Donna was right about Marcus's version being dry. Colin opened the wine. Paige looked for wine glasses and found 3 water glasses and 1 mug from a hardware store. "You've lived here for months," she said. "I don't serve enough wine to require specialized equipment. You own 9 kinds of screwdrivers. Screws have standards." We ate crowded around the kitchen table. Elaine asked Colin about work without mentioning anything she thought I had said. Paige described her client presentation and did not look to her mother to confirm the details. When Elaine had trouble opening the wine, I waited. She looked at me. "Would you like help?" I asked. "Yes." I opened it and handed it back. Nobody applauded. That made it better. After dinner, the drawer beside the sink stuck. Elaine noticed. I noticed her noticing. Neither of us touched it. Colin and Paige washed dishes while Elaine and I stood in the sunroom. The rubber plant had grown 3 new leaves. "You're overwatering it," she said. "I water it when it looks resentful. It always looks resentful. It's a rubber plant." That wasn't in Barbara's instructions. Elaine touched 1 leaf. "It looks healthy. So do you." I'm glad." She looked toward the kitchen, where Paige was accusing Colin of loading forks incorrectly. "We did some things right," she said. "Yes, not all of it was broken. No." For a moment, I wondered whether ending the marriage meant we had failed to honor the parts that survived. Then Elaine smiled at something Colin said, and I understood that those parts were already in the room. They did not need the old house to contain them. When everyone left, Elaine lingered on the porch. "Thank you for inviting me. You're still family." Her eyes filled, but this time she smiled. "So are you," she said. She hugged me. It felt different than the embrace in the hallway. Not less loving, less desperate. Then she drove home, and I went back inside, without watching from the window. Our lives separated slowly after that. Elaine learned every password I had once kept for both of us. She replaced the furnace filter herself and wrote the date on the edge in black marker. The first time she sent me a photograph, I almost told her the arrow was facing the wrong way. I enlarged the image and discovered it wasn't. I wrote, "Nice handwriting." She replied, "I've had it for years." Diane returned to the house only when invited. She moved the tea once and was sent home with it in a grocery bag. After that, she asked before reorganizing anything. Paige and I kept meeting for coffee. We talked about her work, her apartment, the man she had been seeing for 6 months and had not mentioned because she assumed I would ask whether his tires were properly inflated. "Are they?" I asked. "Dad, I'm interested in his safety. You're interested in tire pressure. 2 things can be true." Colin's Wednesday visits became less regular because he began calling instead. At first, he always opened with an object. Hypothetically, he said one evening, "How much water should come out of a pressure valve?" Hypothetically, none. That's what I thought. Then he called a week later and had no broken appliance. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing." "Work?" "Fine." "Paige?" "She's Paige. Your mother?" "Also fine. Then why did you call?" He hesitated. "You said I could." I sat in the green chair and stayed on the phone for an hour. Elaine and I had coffee once a month. Sometimes we laughed. Sometimes one of us left angry. We stopped treating anger as proof that the conversation had failed. She changed the hallway photographs again, replacing posed family pictures with ordinary ones. Colin asleep in a lawn chair as an adult after helping with yard work. Paige holding a burnt pie. Marcus and Donna arguing over a grill. Elaine and me laughing on the truck tailgate. She sent me a photograph of the wall. I wrote, "Looks different." She answered, "It is." When the divorce became final, neither of us marked the day. I went to the hardware store. Elaine had lunch with Paige. That evening, she sent me a picture of a crooked cabinet door and wrote, "I already fixed it. I'm showing you because I'm proud." I wrote, "I'm proud too." The anniversary of the lockout arrived disguised as another wet Tuesday. I noticed the date while buying coffee, then spent the afternoon pretending I had not. The rain started before dinner, soft against the sunroom windows. At 6, someone knocked. By the time I reached the front door, the porch was empty. A white pharmacy bag hung from the knob. Inside were 2 bags of ginger candy, the kind with more yellow pieces than orange. There was no medicine, no crackers, and nothing that needed fixing. A note in Elaine's handwriting lay between the bags. "You were taking care of me. I made you pay for needing you." I stood with the door open, listening to the rain. Then I carried the bag to the sunroom, sat in the green chair, and unwrapped one of the yellow candies. The ginger burned pleasantly at the back of my throat. I picked up my phone and called Colin. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Dad, what's broken?" "Nothing." He waited. "I just wanted to hear your voice," I said. Outside, rain darkened the street. Inside, the rubber plant leaned toward the window. The shelves remained 4 inches too low, and nothing in the room needed me at all.